just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And that announcement I was talking about last week, it has arrived. Oh man, this makes me excited. So, for many years, OGs will know the Bloke Club. I started it like maybe before even Matty was at the company. So long time ago. And my vision was always to create a huge club and then be able to do cool things with the cool Bloke Club. So what we have done is, thanks to Luke Camilleri from Mazda in Aspley, if you join the Bloke Club, it's free. Go to www.bloke.club. Completely free to join. You go in the draw to win a BT50. That's right, a Mazda BT50. It is completely free to join the Bloke Club. Not only that, so in 4 months, that's the grand prize. But the first month's prize is $2,000 cash. Each month, we will be giving away prizes in the Bloke Club, and it is completely free to join. We'll be giving discounts on Bloke merch. We'll be doing a bunch of stuff like discounts to, like if you're a business that sells things that blokes like, discounts to that. You go to Bloke Club each day, you'll be able to see the new discounts that are on that day. As I said, it is completely free to join. And by joining, you immediately go on the draw to win a BT50, a Mazda BT50, thanks to Luke Camilleri. Now, Luke, he owns Aspley at Mazda. He actually helped me buy my cars. I went up there to Queensland, got them for my wife, got them for myself. So I've dealt with him myself. He's the best in the business, and you've got to give him a follow on Instagram. If you do want a car, he is the guy to deal with, and he loves rugby league. Now, I'm pretty sure he's a Dragons fan, so don't hold that against him. Even if you are interstate, you can still go to him to get your car. So go to LDC_1 if you need a car. Give him a follow. He takes care of guys like Jai Pataya, Alex Glenn, Jaral Yaya, you name it. If you go to his Instagram or Aspley Mazda Instagram, you are going to see all of the athletes that he has helped. And as I said, I used him myself. I promise you it was the most easy, smoothest experience I've ever had getting a car. And that's all thanks to LDC_1, Luke Camilleri. He has provided the BT50, Mazda BT50. So as I said, join the Bloke Club, completely free at bloke.club. And each month we give away prizes. So the fourth month we're giving away a BT50 Mazda Ute. Unbelievable car. And then this first month we're giving away $2,000. Each month we're going to give away new prizes, and we're also going to be offering exclusive deals, exclusive discounts. We're going to grow out this Bloke Club. Huge, absolutely huge, and I've wanted to do this for a very long time. Now, if you were originally a part of the original Bloke Club, that you have to re-sign up because we had to basically wait till we had enough resources to really build out the infrastructure to make the club work properly. So if you're already a part of the Bloke Club, head to Bloke Club and re-sign up at www.bloke.club. And it's completely free. And it will stay completely free, guys. It is free to join, takes you 2 seconds, and you go straight in the draw to win a Mazda BT50. Plus, this month, we're giving away $2,000 cash. Next month, there's probably going to be $2,000 cash again. The month after that, might be a trip, a holiday, whatever, cash. Every month, we're giving away prizes. That's the exciting announcement. As you can hear, I am so pumped about it, guys. I've waited so long to be able to put this together. Now we are here. Root, how was the weekend, mate?
It was good. Be better with a BT50. You sold me, I'm in.
Go to bloke.club, join, mate. You could win. You could win the prize. Timmy, how's the weekend, mate?
Oh, good, mate. Feels like all's right in life again. We had an almost full round of footy games again, so 6 of them on deck and loved every minute of it.
Hammy?
Yeah, good weekend. I'm not greedy. I won't go to the BT50. I'll take the $2,000.
Okay.
Join the Bloke Club as well.
At bloke.club, baby. Yep. Every single month, guys, we're giving away prizes, and I want to build this out massively. Even if you're a business that sells things like the blokes usually buy, give miles@blokeinabar.com an email. And if you can offer an exclusive discount to the bloke community, then we can look at maybe working something out so that you can be on the bloke.club's page when people go to that club. So basically the way I see it is like we have this huge community, and usually when you've got numbers in power, it's like, you know what it's like? It's like Planet of the Apes where he says, 1 stick, weak, 2, 3, 4, 5 stick, unbreakable. I don't know what he actually says. That's what it is.
You're paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing, absolutely. Anyway, so as a bloke community, we have this huge community, and so we can move in numbers, and a lot of businesses will look at it and go, okay, I'd like to offer that community a discount because it's a lot of numbers. And plus, we give away free prizes. And also we're going to do like live shows, guys, events, you name it. The Bloke Club, we're going to grow it out. Absolutely massive, completely free to join. Alrighty, let's just get straight into it, shall we? Let's just face a bit of music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Alrighty.
Give us a follow on the feed for sure. Give Was a Ting a follow on the feed. It's worth giving him a very quick shout out off the top. So there's a person on the feed who went bang with a couple of big multis in the Gillaroos game. One of them was paying $2,500. The other one, $300. He had the first try scorer in there, a couple of multiple try scorers, but was a ting. Worth a follow, absolutely exploded. He's got now 18.7 thousand followers, and he hunts value as well. There's a lot of ones there, double, triple, sometimes 4 figures in there. So worth having a look at if you like your value. Get around him. Good to be back though. I faced a bit of music on the last day in Vegas. Good thing I got this padded seat because I'm still sort of dealing with a few welts.
Yeah.
Worth going and checking that out if you haven't already. Me facing the music at the Heart Attack Grill.
Yeah, it's a unique establishment.
Yeah, you loved it, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a huge fan.
You just liked it for the food. A lot of people like the gimmicky stuff, but you were
the food was beautiful.
Really good.
Gourmet.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of protein.
Absolutely.
A lot of protein. All right, so how do we go this week? Bearing in mind, new scoring system. Again, a little bit more work for me, but I actually think it's going to spice up the season a little bit more. So we'll get into it here. First game, Roosters 14 defeated by the Broncos 50. Congratulations, Roosters fans. Officially can't win the comp now. Everybody got points in.
That came from Matty's soul. That came from Matty's soul.
Evil laugh from Matty. Everyone got points here. Timmy, Matty, and me had the Broncos head-to-head, which was $1.39. Rue and Denon, you had them 13 plus at $2.40. So strong start for you there, boys. Next game, Tigers 8 defeated by Knights 10. I was the only one to miss points here. Denon and Timmy had the Knights head-to-head at $1.65. Matty and Rue had them 1-12 for $2.80. Rue in some pretty good form. He's got 2 of the 2 margins as well. South 16 defeat the Dolphins 14. Denon and Timmy both had the Dolphins. Matty had Souths plus 4.5 at $1.80. I had them head-to-head at $2.13. Rue had them 1-12 at $3.20. 3 from 3 on the margin.
Call it a day, boys.
The margin guru.
Kim Jong-Cam, we need you to pull some magic here.
Yeah.
No, he's a front runner. He starts really well.
For what it's worth, I messaged Hammy at this point and said, I'm having the perfect week. I don't think I got shit after this.
Look, you actually had a couple more. So the next game, Dragons 20 defeated by the Dogs 28. Denon had the Dragons. No points for you, Denon. Rue.
What a dumb bet.
Shit! Rue and Matty, you had them with the plus 5.5. So you get yourself you missed out on a point there as well. Myself, I had the Dogs head-to-head, $1.60. Timmy had them 1-12, $2.75. Manly 42 defeat the Cowboys 12. Denon and Rue had Manly 1-12 for no points. Timmy and Matty, Manly minus 6.5 for $1.90. Myself, Manly 13 plus for $2.80.
That's so annoying. Like, you don't get any points even though they won. That sucks that you get the same points as someone that picks the other team.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's fair, but
like
anyway.
Icarus, you have flown too close to the sun in this game.
Unbelievable.
Storm 56 defeat Eels 18. Congratulations, Eels fans. You officially can't win the comp. Only gets worse this weekend as well. You've got the Tigers at the 10th wonder of the world, Combank Stadium. So might be 2 50-point thrashings in consecutive weeks. Denon, Rue and Matty had the Storm head-to-head for a whopping $1.26. Brave stuff, boys. Really good.
Thanks for coming.
$1.26.
Thanks for coming,
Timmy
baby.
and myself had him 13 plus for $2.02. So round 1, 2025 for these games excluding the Vegas ones. Rue, $11.56. Matty, $11.07. Myself, $9.92. Timmy, $9.71. Denon, $5.31.
Jeez.
I actually tipped pretty well, but I just fucking got my margins wrong. That's fucking bullshit. That's a shit system.
Same rules
Let's go back to the old one.
No. We've come too far. I like it. Because it's what it's going to open up is if people fall behind, you potentially have got the chance to really catch up with a couple of
I do like it. I do think, though, that a person that chooses 1-12 shouldn't be getting 0 points while someone chose the opposite side. That's a bit of a weird system.
If you put a 1-12 bet on, though, you don't get...
I understand that, but you're still closer to getting the right answer than the next person.
Close, but no cigar.
I'll mount an attack, boys. It's all right. It's me against the world now, Ricky Stewart style. Chip on the shoulder. Everyone's against me. I'll just come out fighting next week.
If you come last, it's going to be a strong season.
Oh, it was one of your best, Sammy. All right. Thanks to Sportsbet, as always, our partners. Gives was a ting a follow. The big fella.
Yeah.
Give him a follow. He's killing it.
Get on board.
And who's the other guy that's the king of the feed? Snave.
The basketball man.
The basketball man.
Yeah.
So the feed. I tell you, you don't have to be someone that's already known.
No.
You can just be a random punter that's killing it.
Exactly.
And get around
It's
it.
popping off. Snave and was a ting. These are names we weren't speaking about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, they've gone down into mortality.
And look at us now.
Unbelievable.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
That's not a tip. That's a miracle. Alrighty. Let's get into it, shall we? Hungriest player this week. Proudly brought to you by Menulog. Most likely be $7 off something. Matty will put that in soon. But the hungriest player this week is Daly Cherry Evans. That is right. DCE is our hungriest player. Like there's special mentions to guys like Haas. Pappy was outstanding. Hamole was outstanding. I mean, there were actually quite a lot of big standout performances this week, probably because there was such big margins in some of the games. But I just watched that DCE game, and the game plan and execution, granted it would have been Seabold that had something to do with it as well. Also Hamole, a big part of it as well. But DCE's game plan of I'm just going straight to where Nanai, Dearden and the rookie centre is, and just work that over constantly to make Dearden tired, because if I shut Dearden down, their attack probably isn't going to be as strong. He just did it all game long. All game long. And full respect to Dearden, he never took a backward step. But I think it actually might be, since I've been looking at stats and that, I think it's the most tackles Dearden's missed in a game. At least it's up there. I think it's about 7. You don't usually see that with Dearden. And, I mean, how can you blame him? He was just getting isolated constantly by DCE. The kicking game, choosing, even just like, he gives the ball to Hamole in that second half. Hamole bumps Dearden. What does he do? DCE gets in a dummy half, identifies Dearden's just been stung, goes straight at him again. Like, we've seen DCE do this to Cleary in Origin, not necessarily like going at Cleary, but out manoeuvring him. And I just thought it was a masterclass against the Cowboys in round 1.
Yeah, completely agree. DCE was unreal. And, mate, I think we talk about it like target this player, and it sounds so easy, but executing it, it's miles away.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like, I thought a really good example this weekend was the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Ty Munro gets injured. Bud Sullivan jumps in at centre. The Dolphins weren't really able to get at him. And, once again, it sounds so easy to target guys, but the way that DCE, how easy made it look, and as you said, mate, I think Tommy Dearden ended up with 8 missed tackles. I sort of went, fuck, it's almost a good effort.
Yeah, with what was
for
going
how
on.
much they got at him, it was wild.
And I agree with you, mate. I put up something on the Instagram just going through the game plan, and there were some people like, oh, everyone has that game plan, and that's a simple game plan. Yeah, everyone has it, but how come we've never seen Dearden miss that many tackles? If everyone does it and it's so easy, why do we have good halves that don't miss many tackles? Because it's hard to get to those spots regularly. Timmy?
Yeah, the thing about these aging halfbacks, the more they can prolong their career, the smarter they get, the more they understand the game of rugby league, and that's fantastic. But you're going to lose speed, you're going to lose strength. You might, your hand-eye starts to go a little. Whatever these little things in your game that regress as you get older. Cherry Evans hasn't really lost any of these attributes, and he's just getting sharper and sharper in understanding the way that rugby league works. And there were countless examples of it, Kempy. Like, there was another one where I think he might have gone to dummy half, and him and Tommy Turbo went blindside, hit Jason Saab just because they were short there. There was the early Olakuatu try where they just go, all right, Olakuatu on Jackson Purdue, a 19-year-old rookie. If we can get him one-on-one, he doesn't stand a chance. Did that early, executed.
Well, the crazy thing is that was literally the first time when they were down there.
Yeah.
So, DC is so intelligent. It goes, who's going to be the most nervous on the line? It's going to be either Duffy or Purdue. Let's just go straight at Purdue. Who have I got on my right side? It's Hamole.
It was a masterclass. And they said to do that 36 years old, it's so exciting for Manly fans and just Ches in the back end of his career, what they're putting together, because far out there for a big year.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you reckon, mate? That DCE?
Unbelievable. I think it's exactly what that kind of team needs. There's so much kind of firepower and strike in their back line, and I thought their forwards were amazing as well, which we'll get to later. But to have such an astute game manager like that who can just get the best out of all those players, unbelievable. And, there's been a bit of chat about it. Will this be his last year, or will he look around or whatever? But to play like that in round 1, why would you, be trying to wind him up or move him on? I think unbelievable.
That's a great point. It's it's almost if he continues to play like this, he's almost forcing Manly's hand. There's no way they can say, let's move to somewhere else. And there was that story that came out early in the pre-season, basically saying that it was going to be his last year. Then he came out and said, basically, that's not true. Mm-hmm. He's also admitted to speaking to other clubs. I guess, it does kind of force Manly's hand. Surely, it'd be a gutsy man to go, nah, we're moving DC on now. Especially
when, they're not in a rebuild or anything like that. I fail to see how this Manly side can make their side all that much better, realistically. The next 2 to 3 years, I think they should be looking at it as a premiership window.
Yeah. And I think also, who have they got just sitting there They don't have like the best young 7 in the comp waiting in the wings to come through. Now, there might be some guy in under 18s or something that's good, but like there's no one tearing it up where you'd go, okay, this is worth moving on the best 7, one of the better 7s in the competition.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, we just came out of the trials. No one really jumped out of the ground there.
Yeah.
It didn't look like, I think Jake Arthur was the halfback. It didn't look like there was a plan there for DCE to leave.
Yeah, unless it is moved Brooks to 7, Tommy to 6, Lehigh to fullback. I think the re-signing of Lehigh on a 3-year deal is the biggest indication that we're probably going to see Tommy at 6, I reckon.
I also thought it was interesting that Brooks played both sides of the ruck the other night.
Okay, yeah, good point. Really good point. So maybe that's the direction they're heading in. Because I don't know why Lehigh would sign a 3-year deal unless, A, it's a decent deal, but also, B, he is being told that fullback is relatively close around the corner.
I guess the only counter to that is he is just a manly boy through and through. Maybe plays a role.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what is he? 19, 18?
20. I think he's 20.
20. 20 years old. He's got now, guaranteed spot on the wings. He's playing the NRL, earning his career. To call it what it is, Tommy Turbo gets injured a lot. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, you'd imagine, to play fullback for them. At the very least, if Tommy does hopefully stay fit through origin periods and different stages, he'll get enough chances at fullback. So I can see why he'd sit there and go, like you mentioned, they might be in a premiership window. They're in a premiership window right now, Manly. If they can keep this side fit, they can win it. And you look at DCE, unless they've got Nathan Cleary or Jerome Hughes ready to join the club, that premiership window doesn't get any stronger by DCE leaving. So I think he'll be there for this year, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. But he doesn't look like he's slowing down.
Yeah, the only thing I think is like, are you balancing your salary cap wisely if you've got a winger on fullback money sitting there for 2 years? Because at some stage, so like I just don't expect Lehigh to play 3 years on the wing.
What Lehigh sign for? Re-sign for?
Well, it's probably up around the 600 mark. You wouldn't take anything less than that.
600's not fullback money in the modern day, though.
But to pay a winger 600K, you're not usually going to pay that when you've got DC on huge, decent coin, Tommy on good coin, Jake Trbojevic on good coin, Hamole on good coin. I just don't think you'd be paying 600 for a winger. If that is the case, can you please look it up, Matty, what he reportedly signed for? I just think he's too good to be playing wing for the next 3 years. I reckon at some point in that contract, I reckon they're probably looking at, because it's already been reported that they were considering moving Tommy to 6 next year. So I just reckon that I don't think he'll play wing that whole time. I reckon at some point they'll move him to fullback and put DC at 6, put Tommy at 6. However, I don't agree with that. I would be keeping Tommy at fullback for as long as he can. That's just speculation though. We don't know. Could be totally wrong. Maybe Lehigh is happy to play on the wing. Just when you look at it from let's imagine we're all Lehigh's manager. He could get fullback money at another club. Mm-hmm. So, like, why would you take massive unders to not only play the position you're not the best at, you're better at fullback, but also you're on way less money than what you could earn at fullback at another club. I don't see how, what thoughts?
Yeah, I do think him being a Manly boy through and through plays a role in this as well. The Hopoatos, they're just about the face of Manly outside of the Trbojevics and the Stewarts over the last 25 years. So I think that plays a role. It wouldn't shock me if he's on a little bit less than 600.
Really?
Genuinely. To stay at Manly, it wouldn't surprise me.
Wow, okay. Timmy?
Yeah, I don't know the contract. There could also be clauses in there where if Turbo misses X amount of games and Lehigh plays fullback for him, there's bumps up. If there's rep honours, it bumps up. So it depends what the deal looks like.
I'll tell you what, if it's less than 600, the Manly have got an unbelievable deal with how good Lehigh is.
Maybe,
so good on them.
Maybe he's on the, we've spoken about premiership window. Maybe he's of the opinion, well, if I stay here, can win a comp or two. Then when the next contract rolls around, maybe I do have a look at some options going elsewhere, or maybe he gets that opportunity to go to fullback and get on the fullback money then. But maybe it's better, rather than chasing the cash now and getting a fill up at a weaker club.
I just don't know whether, even though I do believe that they can potentially win a premiership in the next year or two, I don't know whether they're close enough to doing that to it be a selling point to keep someone on unders. You know what I mean? As in, like, I really only think Melbourne Storm and Penrith are the ones that could go, you can win a comp here, but get on unders. I think being a Manly boy.
I think the Manly boy chat, like, Dad won a comp there, my brother won a comp there.
I think that could potentially keep him there. Matty, what do you got there?
There's no credible rumored amount.
Yeah,
that's super interesting. That is super, super interesting. Anyway, look, the good thing is he's bloody there, 3 years. That's an unbelievable. The fact that they locked him up before he went on the market, all that good stuff, it's just signs of Manly being in a really strong position.
to come out of round one, and that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
How good?
So, your seven's playing too good. Tommy is killing it. And you've also got arguably one of the best young fullbacks in the competition sitting on the wing just waiting for the opportunity. It's a really strong position. And you've got to give Manly credit. You know, they could have gone in two different directions over the last 12 to 20 months or so. I'll say pretty much since Des was let go. It could have been an absolute disaster. It looks like it was like teetering on that when they came 13th or 11th or whatever. And they've managed to fully just pull themselves back on track. And they're I think I, at the moment, have them in my top 4. I think they deserve a bit of credit. I really do. And also, they're one of the real clubs in the top 4. Like, what would you go? Right now, I think a lot of us would go Melbourne and Penrith. Right now, form-wise, probably Broncos or Sharks. Say Broncos or Sharks. But we'll say Broncos for the point of the topic, what we're talking about, and Manly. Out of the top 4, Manly is by far the smallest club financially, resources, everything. And their ability to keep these stars, that's a testament to a really well-run club.
Well, if you look back, 2 years ago, the conversation we're having, they just signed Josh Schuster on heaps more than what they just signed Lehigh for.
Yeah, 100%. So they deserve a massive rap. And they were really one of the standouts of the weekend. So, yeah, DCE, he's our hungriest player. Playing incredibly. Manly looked absolutely electric. We'll get to their game, though, so make sure to stay tuned.
$7 off Indian.
$7 off India food. There you go. DCE. He's a big India guy. Loves cricket.
Get that India. $7 off.
So use the code DCE for $7 off India on Menulog. As always, a massive thank you to Menulog. And they'll be actually a part of the Bloke Club too on the Bloke Club site. They'll be giving exclusives and discounts and everything. So a massive thank you to Menulog as well. Alrighty, boys. It's time. It's time for the Grumpy Team of the Week. Guys, this Team of the Week is just from the team that played this weekend. So it's not from round 0, it's from round 1. So only teams that played on the weekend. So, if there were Guns that played in Vegas, we spoke about them last week. This is just this week. Anyway, let's get into the Team of the Week, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab some coffee, beautiful coffee, everyday blend. We've got the everyday very grumpy blend. We've got pods, we've got beans. Let's get straight into it, shall we? At fullback. Hardest position we all agree to select this week?
Yeah, tough. Mm-hmm.
Super tough. We had Ponga, Turbo, Gray.
Heath Mason.
That's a guy that played on the weekend. He was all right. He was actually pretty good. He was pretty good.
Go Tigers.
At fullback, we got Pappy. That's right. Look, you could have gone any of those guys except potentially Mason, who was solid, but he probably wasn't on their level. Apologies.
Debatable. We'll agree to disagree.
Now you sound like me from Face of Music.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pappy. I think what plays into the Pappy as well, it's just the story behind it all. Like, even 12 months ago, a lot of people were saying this guy was never going to get back to what he was. I mean, if he's not back to where he was, I must have been watching a different game. He was as good as he's ever been. Look, is he one step slower than he was when he was 18? I don't know, maybe. But a lot of people, as they get older, get a tiny bit slower. Is his ball playing like 25% better than when he came into the comp? Absolutely, substantially better. There's an argument to be made that we just saw the best version of Pappy. Like, that's how well he played. Granted, he won a Clive Churchill, so, but it's close. It's very close. That's how good Pappy played on the weekend. And it's just a great story about resilience. It's a great story about believing in yourself as well. When you got all this pressure from far longer coming behind you, it sounded like he probably didn't get the deal that he was hoping for at the Melbourne Storm, but, similar to maybe the Lehigh situation, loves Melbourne, probably wants to stay for a little bit less, thinks he can win a comp there, and he's getting the rewards for it. He was absolutely incredibly... Bellamy came out and said that we haven't even seen the best of Pappy, which is a scary prospect. Absolutely amazing performance by Pappy.
Yeah, he was great. And as you said, is he as fast as when he was 18? No, but...
Are many players?
He looks as... he looked as quick on the weekend as he has, to me, probably since he had that Jack White injury. It was a couple of years ago, which huge, great positive signs.
Yeah, which is still really quick.
Yeah.
Still really quick. And I just think the way that Storm always do it, they round out the game so well. But just their ability to add that ball playing to him. He's a good ball playing fullback now.
That early moment when he exploded, I think Kelma Tulangi sort of half slipped over and he just went bang and took off. Such a moment of relief for rugby league fans. Granted, he came out from the major injury sort of 12 months ago, whatever that was, but again, more injuries in the back end of last season. To see Pappy back and firing, I mean, it's one thing just for supporters of Pappy, and he seems like such a legend of a bloke and coming back into the game at somewhere near his best. But the Melbourne Storm, who we also already thought were, they're the premiership favourites, to see Pappy back like that, and Cam Munster, who we'll get to shortly as well, them at what looks like maybe near their best or close to it, they are frightening.
Yeah, absolutely scary. Scary stuff. All right, at fullback, that was Pappy. On the wings, we've got Saab and Tui Pilotu. In the centres, we've got Could Be Anything, Toya, and we've got Howarth. In the halves, we've got DC and Munster. In the front row, we've got Haas, Carrigan, and Corey Pakes. On the edges, we've got Lucas and Hamole. At 13, Tupanua. 14, Turbo. 15, Little. 16, May. And 17, Kickow. The bench was super hard. You could swap that bench out with a whole different bench, and it would be, understandable. But that is the grumpy team of the week. Turn that frown upside down with a bit of grumpy coffee. Let's get into it, shall we? The Broncos defeat the Roosters 50-14. And I'll tell you what, the player that really, you've got your Hasses, you've got your Carrigans, and, across the board, the Broncos were great. But for me, it's a story of the story of Corey Pakes. And he's our Kayo Can't Miss player of the week. Corey Pakes, the journey he has been on, guess what year it was the last time he started NRL? 2020. Wow. 2020
Jeez.
was the last time he started in the NRL. He continues to fight. He could have left the Broncos so many years ago. There was Super League interest, all that stuff. Probably other clubs were interested. He definitely suits that kind of utility player, this kind of brand of football that we have at the moment. He sticks it out. A new coach comes in, and basically everyone gets a fresh shot at the jersey. And Corey Pakes puts his head down, works his absolute arse off, and then puts on a performance like that. So that's why he's our Kayo Can't Miss player of the week. Just the journey to be able to come back, and a real testament and lesson for anyone, any young player, that, being selected is literally just someone's opinion. It is literally just a single person's opinion or a board of people's opinions. Someone else can come in and like what you offer that someone else maybe not have seen. And the Corey Pakes is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, for sure. I thought he was great. Your post the other night, I thought was perfect about him. His deception around the ruck. I mean, it was not bad. But, just his deception around the ruck. And, mate, similar to all these Broncos boys, they just look like they were a yard faster. They look like a match side, just fit, firing, ready to go. And, you've still got Blake Moser to put back into this side somewhere. And, I think Billy Walters deserves a spot in the side. But if it comes down to him and Moser in a few weeks' time, Pakes-Moser combination.
Scary.
Yeah, it looks scary. And, the other option that people have thrown up in the off-season is moving Ben Hunt back there when Ezra's available. Mate, watching Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds the other day, I don't know if I could shift any of those two. It's early days, but that kicking game.
Mate, they keep playing like that, I don't think anyone's moving.
Mate, I've never seen James Tedesco look so uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was they just toyed with the Roosters all night. So
guess who was James Tedesco's, in Origin, the first game, so he would have done a lot of work with him, was Madge.
Yep.
Timmy?
Yeah, good story of sort of resilience and probably patience, not in a return from injury sort of way with Corey Pakes, but just, as you said, Kempy, with that stat about the last time he started, he's been very, very patient, played a lot of Q Cup in recent years where, a lot of people have sort of sat there and gone, should be playing for the Broncos. They've got this sort of hooker rotation, and it's never really been the 80-minute hooker for a while. Couldn't get a start, and he sort of hung around, despite all this chat of him moving clubs, and finally got his chance to start, and he's lobbed in a great spot behind this unbelievable forward pack, and I don't think it's the hardest job in the world because you just distribute to all these incredible ball players and creative players you got outside you, but we just saw at times his ruck recognition on the weekend and in the trials as well. He just, when Payne Haas goes forward or Pat Carrigan goes forward, you just see him fight and he's ready for that offload every time. It's not like a lot of hookers go there and they go, my next job is pass the ball. He's just looking up, scanning and waiting for that offload to come. Awesome return for him. And yeah, it's only one game, but it's his spot to lose now with, Blake Moser comes back. He has to win his way onto the bench and then the starting role. So yeah, good signs for Corey Pakes.
Yeah, so he's our Kayo Can't Miss. Mate, absolutely huge games to watch this week on Kayo. You've got the Sharkies versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys versus Sharkies. Both teams looking to bounce back. Broncos versus Raiders. Unbelievable clash between the forward packs. You got the Tigers versus the Eels. You cannot miss it, guys. The games this weekend, there are so many different storylines on Kayo, 4K, and ad break free during play. I also got the F1 Formula 1 this week. That's going to be, I mean, I tell you what, I'm actually into Formula One these days, thanks to the Netflix documentary. I'm keen as I actually reached out to my Kayo connection and was like, hey, bro, can you hook us up with some tickets? He said, listen, it's a bit too close. So I got brushed, but it happened. I reached out. That's how keen I am for a bit of F1. Boys, let's talk about some more rugby league with the Brizzy Broncos. Should we talk about Roosters or Brizzy Broncos first?
Let's get into it.
We'll let you go first.
Let's enjoy it.
Okay, let's put the timer on, guys. This is all you fucking speak about. Fuck, he's going to speak for 50 minutes about the Broncos and 2 seconds for everyone else.
No, seriously, put the timer on.
The timer is also brought to you by Kayo. Kayo Can't Miss timer. Anyway, you can't miss Kayo. Make sure to get on board. But all right, the Broncos. All jokes aside, guys. Look, what I really like to see is just we always talk about seeing what style of rugby league does a team play, and I think that what's so really good about watching the Broncos right now. Yes, they did have a style before, but it was such a risky style, and ad nauseum. I know it frustrated Broncos fans. I always goes, geez, I wish they could land around that 85% completion rate. And then some Broncos fans would be like, mate, but this is not the style they play, and it's exciting, it's expansive, and you just can't, in my opinion, you can't build long-term success on playing like, a cowboy. Not a North Queensland cowboy, but I'm talking about a cowboy just winging it no matter what.
Well, either, really.
Uncalled for from West Tigers friend. And so what I liked about it is identifying, you could see why Michael Maguire moved Paddy Carrigan into the front row, because the whole foundation of the Broncos game plan is built on Carrigan, Pakes and Haas. And you could see it in multiple tries, whether it was Haas playing the ball, him dummying to Carrigan, going short side, where it was dumming to Carrigan, then going to Haas, whether it was using Haas as a decoy. Everything is built around Haas and Carrigan in the front row. And people go, oh, come on, mate, he was already at 13, it's similar. Yeah, but when you're at 13, you've got to be a link man, so you're not around the ball as much. Whereas if you've got Carrigan in the front row, he's basically around the ruck as much as possible. And so it just makes it so the foundation of the entire game is around arguably the 2 best front rows in the competition. Now, granted, I understand Leota and Fish together probably go down as the greatest combination ever, or at least one of. But I would make the argument, I personally believe that combination-wise, Haas and Carrigan are the best front row in the competition. And so Madge has looked at that and gone, why would I split that up and put him at 13 when I've got a guy that can get through 1,000 tackles, do that ball playing? Why not have the strongest front row? Because everything is built around that. And I think you saw that evidence on the weekend. And it wasn't like they went up against a bunch of mugs. They were up against Connor Watson, White, and Collins. That's a decent front row battle. And I just thought that area of the game, Michael Maguire's, just his detail, his dedication to detail and laying out a platform, but also allowing the guys, once you get into good ball, you can play like the cowboy. You can throw the ball around, you can out the back, you can kick, you can do whatever you want. Because there was still the typical Broncos great tries. You still got that, but it was just done at the right time. Root?
Yeah, I remember in the preseason when we were talking about this lock forward, Pat Carrigan, Kobe Heather, I had my concerns. You two, full credit to you, didn't at all. And I got about 20 minutes into this game and went, you fucking idiot. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be sweet. I thought the way that Pat Carrigan played was tremendous. I love that, and I'm pretty sure I'm accurate in saying this. I don't think there was a moment where Madge didn't have one of Carrigan or Haas on the field. I think he went to a lot of effort to make sure one of them was always on the field, which I really liked. Yeah, Broncos, mate, they looked excellent. They're going to be a handful this year.
Mate, my only worry is, are they peaking too early? That's genuinely my biggest worry.
And yeah, I didn't want to be a dick, but that's actually your one concern.
Yeah.
Are you peaking too early?
Yeah.
Because, even the Panthers over the last few years, they consistently play their best footy at the right time of the year. I think the Broncos have got more gears in them. I'm keen to see how they go against a side that, one of the top 4 or 5 sides. I still think they'll be great, but obviously the Roosters, I just don't think the Roosters were ready for a challenge like this in any way, shape or form.
Timmy?
Yeah, I will say in terms of potentially peaking too early, because Madge obviously has them rock hard fit, and we can see this, by in 5-6 months' time, go, all right, if they still got anything left in the tank, if they can win games early, it does allow them through that origin period where Carrigan and Haas and a few others will play big minutes to give them rest or play them lesser minutes. But if they're sitting top 4 or thereabouts come origin time, you just give them the week off after Origin. You say, no, we need you to peak at the back end of the year, have a spell, don't burn yourself out. Whereas if you're fighting for a top 8 spot or you're battling a bit, you have to back these players up from Origin to make the top 8 and play finals footy. Carrigan to front row, it seemed like a no-brainer to me, and it's good to see it sort of be as so effective as it was, because at the end of the day, he's a run-first player, Pat Carrigan. He's got good ball playing, as we saw on the weekend, but he's at his best when he's just thinking head down, run.
Yep.
And as you said, Campy, when he's at lock, he does have to be that link man, and he has to think about that ball playing a little bit more. What it now does is gives him another ball playing forward, because they now have Kobe Hetherington, who comes in and can play as that link man. But you saw the effectiveness of Carrigan, who's punching through the line, did that little tip on at the line for, I think, Gajewski, his try, was it?
Yeah. So they dummied to Haas, went to Pat, and then he tips on.
So you're still going to get that ball playing out of him, but it's just a little bit different, a little bit more at the line. I really like it.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think also the drop-off with Jensen coming on, it's nowhere near as much as it used to be. And Willison looks like he's developed quite a bit in this last 12 months or this last off-season. Whereas before, the drop-off was so substantial. When Paddy and Haas went off, it was honestly like it's a big drop-off. And so it's good to see that kind of, not as big with Jensen coming on and getting through his work. No, so Paddy Carrigan, he ended up playing 67 minutes. They'll probably have to ease that back a little bit, I think. Probably land him around the 55 to 60 minutes, I reckon, each week.
That's huge. I mean, it's in the front row.
Yeah, in front row.
Jeez.
But he is that...
He can do it,
He can do
obviously.
it, but I just... Longevity, I'd probably trying to bring it back about 60.
Especially in a game like this where they had it won
Yeah.
a long way out, like... And it's round one, they're making a statement, I get it. But moving forward, like, if
Bring
you've
him
got
on.
a margin like that, just spell
Yeah,
it.
because like I think Haas ended up playing 50 minutes, so that's where I want Haas at. So Carrigan, he had 25 runs, 242 metres, so just under 10 metres per run, which is insane. 48 post contact. Then he had he had 92 post contact metres, which is crazy. He only had 100 friggin' post contact metres, and he had 21 tackles, only 2 misses. So just granted, Haas got all the praise, and rightly so. He looked to think that Haas could get physically better is mind blowing. But he actually looks like he's dropped at least 3 or 4 kilos. He looks like a freaking centre at some with his footwork. It's crazy. What do you reckon, Hammy?
He was unbelievable, wasn't he? Stepping around, blokes, doing all that good stuff. Good point you make around the drop-off, not as noticeable now. They obviously look to keep one of those guys on at all times, but you touched on Willison, but I thought he was amazing. 37 minutes, he went for like 150 metres or something like that. Just... We knew last year when he had his first year that there was like a lot of potential there, but it looks like whatever's happened in this preseason and the focus on fitness and all that sort of stuff has really paid off, because I thought that was the best that I've basically seen him play since he's been with the Broncos. But I'll tell you what, the peaking too early is maybe the only one little concern, but geez, they look slick and like they've responded to the preseason that they've been through, the change that they've been through, the completion rate, which is something that you mentioned, if they can get it nice and high, 84%, not bad. You take that as a Broncos fan, because if they're going to complete at 84% most weeks, they're going to be just about anyone, or at least give those very, very top teams a real good run for their money. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, look, in Michael Maguire's defence, he has been around for so long. He's intelligent enough to know that could happen, as in the peaking too early. So he's probably sitting there going, do you guys really think I prepare a season not aware of the fact that we've had a big preseason and all the science and all the way we can measure things? So I'm sure he's aware of it. It's just a matter of, sometimes you can be aware of something, but because it's so ingrained in you to be just so redlining, make some people so fit and everything, you just go a little bit too far. I personally think, it'd be mind-blowing if they did peak too early, because he's too far into his coaching career to make such a rookie mistake, in my opinion. So I don't think it'll happen. And also, yes, Penrith usually wait till the end of the season to peak, but then you look at the Melbourne Storm with the 23 wins every round one as well. So and he did do a lot of his coaching at the Melbourne Storm as well, so he's got that mentality.
There's such a fascinating case this season, aren't they, the Broncos, Kevin, because watching, and it's only one game, but the round one game, the preseason challenge win, you just look at them go, there's no reason why they shouldn't be competing for a premiership, if nothing else, like at least a top 4 sort of spot. And you just feel like the only thing that can stop them is themselves, as we saw certainly in 2022 and to probably a lesser degree 2024 with some other things. But the team they've got, barring injuries, they should be competing. And they won the preseason challenge. They did that last year as well and missed finals. They've won it this year as well and looked unbelievable. They've come out and trounced the Roosters in, let's call it what it is, a terrific win, but the Roosters very undermanned. Even like they lost their best defender in Victor Radley early on in this one as well. They were run over the top of. So now it's just like cooling the brakes a little bit.
For sure.
And just saying, boys, great start. Do not let this go to your head.
Well, Madge like the perfect
He
coach
is,
for that.
absolutely
Yeah.
is.
And I think also, disclaimer out of the way, guys, we get it's just round one. You know, if we come out in round two and Roosters towel someone up and the Broncos get towelled up, we'll come into, okay, shit. It looks like they're going to be inconsistent at the moment. So we get it. We understand.
I think this round 2 game, I believe the Broncos got the Raiders.
Yeah.
Such a
I
good
love
game.
that for the Broncos.
Oh,
I think it's the
can't wait.
perfect matchup for them that, okay, this Raiders team, they'll punch above their weight.
It's down in
They've had
Canberra
2
too,
weeks
isn't it?
to prepare
Yes.
for you. Yep. I think it's perfect. If this is a game that the Brisbane Broncos could get their pants pulled down.
Absolutely.
If they're getting ahead of themselves.
Well, and also you look at their front row, Starling in incredible form with Papali'i and Tarpanay. I know Horsburgh got named there, but he was playing 13. So
Tarpanay's out of this one too.
Oh,
Suspended.
apologies. So you've got, but you've got Big Red and you've got Papali'i,
Yep.
both bloody good players. So I can't wait for that clash. I can't wait for that. It's just going to be a real test for both sides. You know, Raiders blew the Warriors off the park. Broncos, and funnily enough, like both forward packs, bloody good forward packs. So it's going to be fireworks, absolutely. Okay, in regards to some other players, we spoke about Corey Pax. Look, I know a lot of people want to be very anti-Walters because the whole situation. Corey Pax wasn't getting selected, but I thought Walters came on and played bloody well, and I think it's going to be hard to find. He'll be fighting for that 14 jersey, and he's also a bloody good 14. But I thought he was good coming off the bench.
Yeah, I thought he was good. So I think he's been good the last few years. I think that any negativity he gets is simply because of
His last name.
his last name. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. He was great in that season. You made the grand final. He was tremendous.
Yeah.
I think once Moser does arrive and he's available,
It's tough.
what a spot for you guys to be in.
It's so much depth. So much depth.
He's a great 14 though, right? You
Perfect
saw in this
14.
when he came on. Granted, the game was in a very friendly position for him to come on at, but had a really nice try assist with a long ball, I think it was. But he can cover the halves very easily. He can spend time at 9. He's been a starting 9 for a fair while in the NRL. He can play as a middle forward at 13. Great player to have as a 14.
He's almost the as I said, as Rue kind of alluded to, you take out his last name, everyone would be sitting here going, he's the perfect 14 for what the Broncos need right now. I think the biggest pressure on him is just Moser is young and you want to keep him at the club and he hasn't re-signed yet. I think that's the biggest pressure on him. I got to say, look, I would have picked Piakora on the edge, and I think a lot of us would have. But Jazeski was bloody good. I take my hat off to Michael Maguire because I always like a coach. Even if I disagree with a coach, I would rather disagree with a coach that lives by the sword and die by the sword. And what I mean by that is that they are going all in on what they believe in rather than this weird, 1 week it's this way, 1 week it's that way, and they're not really said, there's not really a... Because the way I see it is this. I believe Michael Maguire has sat down before he's arrived at the Broncos, and I don't know if he's done exactly this, but this is kind of what he's done. And he's got a checklist. This is what it means to be a Bronco. If you don't tick every single one of these boxes, you will not be selected. It does not matter how good you are. And I think he did the exact same thing for the New South Wales Blues last year when he was coaching them. He basically said, if you don't tick these boxes, and I think Jake Trbojevic is a bloody good example of that. Yes, is he a bit older, even though he played really good on the weekend. But last year, he's a little bit older. There are other players that you could argue are, younger, fitter, faster, whatever, but they didn't tick all the boxes, whereas Jake Trbojevic did. And although he got minimal minutes, it was what he was offering to the culture of what Madge was trying to build. And I look at Jazeski and I go, clearly he is totally bought in. And yes, Piakora is a much more talented player, but at the end of the day, the system is more important than the star. And I think Michael Maguire, by choosing Jazeski and allowing him to have an opportunity at that jersey, is trying to prove that point. And I think he is kind of proving that point at the moment.
I love as well that he didn't give him 50 minutes, then put Piakura. He said, I assume he said to him, if you do the job, it's yours.
Yeah.
And he was doing it.
He did it.
And you have a look through his stats, they're not, he obviously scored the try, did well, but I think it was 17 runs for 100 metres, but fuck, they were a tough 100 metres.
Tough 100 metres. He works his ass off. He defensively is quite solid, sticks to the system well. And as I said, even though I would, honestly, I'd still nearly probably go Piakora, I like that Michael Maguire is sticking to his guns and going, no, this is what it means for me to be in a Broncos jersey, and Krzyzewski played well. I thought he played well. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Piakura to Gajewski, they're apples and oranges, right, in terms of back rowers.
Totally different.
One of them in Gajewski is just this hard-working toiler. He'll give you the effort areas, all that. Piakura, probably at this stage of his career, hasn't quite hit the heights that we've expected. He's had his great moments, but whether there's been attitude or effort areas on the field, whatever it is that's seen him demoted to the bench, Madge, and I know it's only one small example, but Madge was almost vindicated immediately when Brendan Piakura came on, and with a brain explosion, he gets binned. I know it happens in the heat of the moment, and he's come on, he wants to have an impact, but he gets binned straight away, and he goes, what happens if that happens in the first 10 minutes of the game, or with the game on line after 60 minutes in a tighter game? Like, that's what he's trying to get out of the Broncos, and it took a minute for him to get binned for it. Now, so not a major knock on Piakura, but I think Madge is just sitting there going, that's why Gajewski's starting and playing 80 minutes. Yeah,
and I think if you're Piakura, yes, it's going to be frustrating right now because you've grown up as the man, and he is so talented. I believe he has the potential to be one of the better back rows in the competition. But as long as Piakura can lean into this and go, how can I learn? How can I buy in and go, you know what? I can learn from these moments. Like, there is parts of my game that I can just clean up a little bit. He will just explode.
This will be the making of Piakura.
Yeah, I reckon.
Because as you said, a star through the grades, was always the man. He's now got Gajewski, and he went, all right, Madge is starting to rocket up my ass. This won't last long. I'll be starting around 2 or 3. Round 1, they put that on. Gajewski plays great. He goes, shit, I really need to up myself.
I really need to work. And also, he comes on and he has that brain explosion, so he's going to be like, shit, let the boys down, all that stuff. So I think it's going to be the making of him. I really do. We look how Willison's responded to Madge. It's been outstanding. And I just want to give a shout out to Krzyzewski because I'm sure, a lot of pundits like ourselves are sitting there going, we would have picked Piakura. And he's thinking, stuff yous. I'm the one that earned this jersey. I worked my ass off in this preseason. You haven't seen all the hard work I've done. You haven't seen all the stuff that Michael Maguire has seen. And he proved Michael Maguire right. He proved him right. And so, good on him. Good on him.
Absolutely. Yeah. He looked really good. And I think, to your point about Piakura, sometimes there's really prodigiously talented players, stick him on the bench for a bit or reserve grade or whatever it is. A lot of good coaches will do that to light a bit of a fire under him to get the best out of him. So, to Timmy's point, I reckon, it will probably serve him really well. And at some stage this year, we'll probably see him out there killing it, starting in the starting side.
In the same vein, Shibasaki at left centre. I thought he looked great.
Outside of that one, his brain literally exploded. I saw it just go. Outside of that one defensive read, great as well.
The best thing about that is Shibasaki's had defensive issues in the past, and to have that poor defensive read early on, for it was when Toya went through, wasn't it? He bounced back from it so well, right? It was a brain explosion, but he bounced back and had a ripping game. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's another, tick for Michael Maguire to go, I don't care what your name is. If you buy in, I'll back you.
I heard quite early in the preseason, before Staggs got injured, that he was the front runner to be a starting centre for the Broncos. And then you're sort of trying to work out where he fits in and all of that. Had a few chances in the NRL in the past, hasn't really taken it with both hands. And then Staggs went down. It's like, right, Shibasaki's come in. But on all reports, Shibasaki was ahead of Dean Mariner. Mariner was the one that was going to miss out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just, I guess it's along those lines of they're buying in, and Michael Maguire he's trying to build. I know culture gets thrown around, honestly, forever. Another guy I want to give a shout out to, not because he played his best game ever, but Reece Walsh, one handling error. I'll cop that. I'll take. And also, he picked his moments. There's one thing a bit deceptive about Reece Walsh because he's small. Everyone thinks he's really fit. It's actually probably his weakest part of his game is his fitness. He was so much fitter in this game. He was getting around the park. I actually reckon it's probably one of the most Ks he's clocked in around one game. He was just doing his job. He wasn't throwing. I mean, how many times did he come out that back there? And last year he would have just thrown that ball. Just said, "Fuck it, I'm throwing it." He didn't. He just said, held it, kept going. So look, Selwyn Cobbo back on the wing. I love it.
Boys, what about the hands of Selwyn Cobbo when he scooped up that try off the Adam Reynolds double
Absolute
kick at speed in the rain?
He's
Big fella like him. I thought that was incredible.
The talent he has is honestly ridiculous.
Just was exciting at the back end of that game just to see him floating around, just popping up around the middle and stuff. That was, I like that.
Heather Inchall was great. Look, the whole team was great. All right, let's get to obviously Renault and Renault's short kicking game. Wow. Yeah. Wow, unbelievable. But I think we've hit our max time now, so we'll go to the Roosters.
Only 3 hours. That's
only 3 hours. That's unders. The Roosters. Honestly, and I'm happy to come in here next week and go, yep, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't, totally wrong. I think there's a bit of pressure on Robbo this year. I think there are Roosters fans looking around going, yes, we understand that we've had a lot of people leaving. Yes, there's injuries or whatever, but yes, those players is leaving, but where's the plan for replacement? You know, they came out and said that they're going to back their young fellas. I'm just not seeing it at the moment, unfortunately. Now, granted, that could change within honestly, 4 weeks we could be sitting here going, Roosters are back. They're good to go. Yep, all good. But I do think there are a few Roosters fans looking around going, there's probably a bit of pressure on Robbo this year to come out and get 50 put on you at home. And I think it's the biggest margin the Broncos have ever beaten the Roosters. I think there's a fair bit of pressure. Granted, there were some individual efforts out there. I thought Toya was outstanding. Nwanga Tuase, really good. I thought Teddy, although he looked super uncomfortable, fought his absolute heart out. Watson had some good moments. But I just think if this continues like this, look, there is history. In 2016, similar situation happened. Granted, there was some off-field stuff that distracted the Roosters massively, and they really struggled, and then they bounced back, and they literally won back-to-back premierships. So Robbo can do that. He can do it. I just think it's been 5 years since they've really made a push. Last year was their best year. They made a prelim, which is good, which is solid. But with that roster, it should be a prelim every year, pretty much, that he's had over that time. So I think there's a little bit of pressure on Robbo.
There's 100% pressure on him. There has to be. We've sort of been tiptoeing around this for a year or two, but they make finals. They compete. But I look at the decisions they've made in the last 12 months, and I know that they've now been dealt a tough hand with Sam Walker and Brandon Smith being injured. But I just looking through their side, mate, and I'm not confident that Robbo's getting the best out of a lot of guys in this squad. And the weekend, sure, a little bit of an outlier. Radley went down. They're missing a couple of guys, all that sort of stuff. But just decisions over the last 2 years and the decisions they've made in this offseason, how they've prepared for life after the guys that left.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
And please, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to put my hands up. Have you ever seen Satilli play that well?
But you know what? I've known Satilli's had that in him for 6 years. People think I'm an idiot because Wong's not looking great. I'm telling you, Wong should be so much further ahead than what he is. It's not even fucking funny. And, give me shit for that. Go give shit to Phil Gould too. He knows a thing or two about what he's talking about. And you know what, mate? Yeah. They struggled 18, 19 back-to-back comps. Cooper Cronk walked into the building. 2013, James Maloney, Sonny Bill, Jennings walk into the building. And maybe the Roosters do that again in 12 months. But I think this year, mate, to walk into your home stadium for round one and concede 50 points in the wet.
I get it, honestly.
What's going on?
Yeah, I would get a fast track. I would almost be like, it's the Broncos and they're so embarrassed about last year that they just came out crazy. As I said, what I will say, what I am firmly in the believer, I believe Robbo's a good coach. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing him at another club, but that's way down the line. We're not even close to there yet, but in my opinion, I believe he's a good coach. I believe it takes a special kind of coach to get superstars to play good footy together. All you got to do is look at the Broncos. They have had superstars for quite a few years and they've struggled. So I do believe, but when I look at it and I go, if it was a fast track and it was 50 points, I could go, okay, Broncos embarrassed about last year. Madge is there. It's a new start. They have injuries. 50 points on a slow track with a bunch of water.
When the sky opened up, I thought, okay, this is going to help the Roosters massively. And we always come out of trials and we go, it's just trials. We don't know how it's going to play. Trial form has never been truer than these two sides going into this game. And we tinker with the idea of maybe it's training load, blah, blah, blah. Mate, they just don't look ready for it to me. Maybe we look back in 6 weeks and Broncos are the real deal and the Roosters have just caught them on a bad night and got unlucky. But, mate, they play Penrith this week. I'm nervous for them.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, Trent Robinson is no doubt a terrific coach. And he'll be an NRL coach for a long, long time to come. But a good coach doesn't necessarily, you can still... I know outstay your welcome is a bit harsh because he's obviously loved at the Roosters. He's done some magnificent things, but to be a good rugby league coach, you don't necessarily stay at a club for 10, 15 years. It doesn't always work out that way. So if he were to, part ways with the Roosters, I know we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but in a few years, he'll go to another club and I think he'll be brilliant.
Agreed.
Sometimes you just need a bit of a change in face, a bit of a change of scenery because I just like you blokes in the last year or two have been a bit more backing of him and saying no, like give him a bit more time with what he's done. I think he's been under pressure or should have been under pressure for a couple of years now with the rosters he's had and the lack of success that he's had since those back-to-back premierships. I will say though, I think the bar has moved this year. Like in the last couple of years, it's been all right. Minimum a grand final, maybe you can get away with a prelim. This year, with all the injuries that they've had, with players that have left the club, the way they've started, I think you sort of sit there and go, all right, let's say they do have a good run of injuries for the rest of this year. Finish top 6, maybe push for a top 4. If there's a few more injuries, all right, and if they can scrape into the top 8, I think that is now the new marker. I'm not sitting there looking at this squad that he's got now with all the injuries they've had, Walker, Cheese, a few others, going, all right, they have to make the top 4. They don't, but it's still a good enough squad that they should be making the top 8. So I think that's where it sort of sits.
If they make the top 8, I think that's a good effort.
Yeah.
Bloody oath, that's great. If they make the top 8 with this squad, that is a fantastic effort.
The only question I have against that though is, I don't feel like they've prepared well for the amount of people that left last year. Like I feel like the Roosters 5-6 years ago would have been so ready for this, whereas like they haven't really replaced anyone. Like literally outside of Reece Robson that's arriving next year. They haven't replaced anyone. They lost Kiri, Hargreaves,
Manu,
Suoliti, Manu, Tupanua,
Terrell May,
that they actually moved on themselves.
And maybe it's a case of, they're...
Sorry?
Thank you.
They're backing the rookies to come through. So, someone like Blake Steep's been highly regarded for a long time. They've obviously got Nwanganita Waze, Robert Toya, he's been hyped for a long time.
Maybe that is the case, but I didn't hear that last year. I didn't hear last year when they knew everyone was leaving. I didn't hear the Roosters come out and say, "No, we're backing our youth, and here's the plan."
Like a Raiders been pretty vocal about it.
Raiders have been vocal about it for a few years.
The blokes coming through.
Panthers were very vocal about it.
And I'm looking glass half full, like maybe why? Because I agree with you. I don't think they've replaced them well, but maybe that is what they're doing. They're backing these young fellas to come through.
Yeah. And
what I will also say is, again, I'm trying to find positives in what was a terrible performance. That Broncos pack and the way they played, there weren't many teams that weren't getting blown off the park in that game because they were unbelievable.
Yeah,
so good. Yeah. So look, I don't think he's at the point where he's going to get moved on or whatever. Not at all. But I just think that he probably has to make the top 8 regardless of injuries and that this year. And he has worked that miracle before. Remember 2022, I think, and he was like 21?
21, yeah.
They were absolutely decimated with injury, and they made the top 8.
Yeah.
So he has worked the magic before. I just think he's probably due. He's due for a Robbo masterclass. I think he needs a masterclass this year.
Yeah.
If they do struggle this year, and they've got Robson arriving next year, let's say they sign another, gun 5'8" or a fullback or someone this off season. Like, do you think it's at a point where if they've got a heap of signings coming, you just stick with Robbo? Or do you think maybe it is just time for a bit of a change?
I reckon halfway through the year I'll probably have a better answer to that question, because they did make a prelim last year, so that although they probably have the squad to make a grand final, it's still close to a pass mark for me with that squad. So it's very hard for me to go, they need a fresh start when they made a prelim last year. I reckon midway through the year is when I reckon that question should probably pop up for me anyway.
I will say that, I think he'll be under huge pressure this year unless they really turn a corner. Holy shit, they've had a tough run of injuries, right? Even coming into this game, they're already light on forwards. Nat Butch had to get a minor surgery or something done, so he pulls out. I said their best defender, Radley, he goes down with that HIA quite early on in this game, up against Carrigan and Haas. They can't take a trick.
Yeah, it's been 5 years now where they've had quite a lot of injuries, but I guess at the end of the day, if it was 1 or 2 years, you'd be like, that happens. But 5 years, something's got to change. Something's got to change. And I will say, Robbo last year deserves a lot of credit, because the whole knock on the Roosters was they started the season way too slow, didn't give themselves a fair opportunity, and he changed that. Robbo did change that. They started last year really, really well, got the points they needed, ended up finishing in the top 4, got into a prelim. So we'll see.
Yeah, and also from a coaching perspective, I thought last year he did come up with some master strokes. Leaving Connor Watson and Angus Crichton out of the side round 1.
Yeah.
They were close to being in your best 17
look at
of
the
development year by the end.
Look at the development of Connor since he returned to the club. He has just gone.
And Connor's always had ability.
Yeah.
But Robbo has got the best out of him over the last few years. It's just these forwards, and I understand there's been injuries and stuff, there's just a lot of question marks for me. The decision to let Terrell May go, I think, could be a really costly one for the Roosters.
In regards to positives, I thought Toya was phenomenal and just showed you that this kid is electric. He is absolutely electric. I cannot wait to see once they get a bit of a roll on and they start to get a bit of field position and all that. I can't wait to see Toya in his best.
Yeah, for sure. Really good kid, very talented. He's had a bad injury run over the last few years, but you could see the pedigree the other day. I think as well, mate, I think for a young kid, the last trial he had, that right edge just got absolutely decimated by the Newcastle Knights. So I thought that was a really good bounce back from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one play I know he looked a bit uncomfortable at times, but this is why Teddy is great for me. It's like, yes, the highlights, it's the Origin match winners, it's the grand final match winners. But like his team has lost this game, getting absolutely pumped. There's 14 minutes to go. He does a long dropout. He sprints himself. Willison grabs the ball, tries to basically bump him, and James Tedesco, at fullback, tackles Willison one-on-one at like the 40-metre mark or the 35-metre mark. It's just like efforts like that make Tedesco great for me. That's why he is a competitor. Doesn't matter whether he's winning by 50 or losing by 50. He just never stops. And I really admired Tedesco's just grit and fight in this game.
I am genuinely frightened for James Tedesco this year. He's going to try and take this burden of a team with injuries and missing key spine players on himself. And we saw it the other night. He's going to go and go and go. And we've seen probably a couple of years ago, him take a little bit too much on his own plate and sort of overplay his hand. Last year, he found a really nice balance in a red-hot team. But this year, like with Sandon Smith, Chad Townsend didn't have the best game on the weekend. He's going to come out and try to do a lot for them. Like, he'll have 25-plus runs a game. He'll be getting a ridiculous amount of touches. He'll be throwing his body on the line. By the end of the season, his body's going to be in
wrecked.
all sorts.
Yeah, wrecked.
He knows no other way.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
It's so admirable, but I'm like, oh, God, Teddy, look after yourself. Just the other one before we move on. Nwanga he's special.
Yeah.
Like, he beats that first tackle almost every time. And this is in a team getting destroyed and he beats the first man every single time.
Mate, you could tell from his first New South Wales Cup game, you could just physically see there's something about him.
Oh,
He reminds me of, obviously he's not at his level yet, but Israel Folau, just the way he kind of moves to a degree. He's not his level, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he just got that special size, power, delicate hands.
I'd love to see, and he'll be terrific at centre, don't get me wrong, but I said with the team set up that they've got with Dom Young and Dan Tupou on the wings, he probably has to stay centre for a while. If anything happens to those wingers, I'd love to see him get a shot on the wing. You got Billy Smith, who's due back in the next couple of weeks. Him to come back at centre, just on the wing with his speed, his strength, aerial ability.
I'll tell you what, if Dom Young doesn't sort some stuff out.
I was just about to say, Dom Young, 2 tries on the weekend. The stats read well. He's got a lot to sort out. And when Billy Smith's available, Robbo said last week that he believes Mark's best position is wing.
Yeah.
It's something I'd be considering.
Yeah, and I guess I just don't. Dom Young just hasn't hit the heights that he hit at when he was at Newcastle yet, unfortunately. So he's just got to find a way. I mean, there's been moments where you've just gone, holy shit, with Dom Young, but just consistency, he's just got to find it.
Attack's rarely going to be the issue, and even when he hummed at the Knights, there were some defensive issues and reads. And being in like some really good sides, I think have sort of papered over a little bit. Like at the Knights, you got better defensively, but that was when they went on that run of like 9 or 10 straight in the back end. They were flying. The Roosters last year, obviously very good. So if it is in a weaker team that's sort of losing, losing the middle and they're backpedaling defending, it's really going to put that defence to the test, which we found out a bit on the weekend. So big challenge for him.
Big challenge for the big fella, but I think we can see the talent. It's all there. I reckon he can sort it. And it's also sometimes as a winger, you're pretty much just at the mercy of how your team's playing.
Exactly.
You put under so much pressure when you're getting towed up. So it's not just him. Like there weren't that many players that really played to their best of their ability, in my opinion. Tough night.
Just quickly, debutant off the bench for Keddy. Been very good coming through the grades. Very
He
good
killed it in last
defender.
year's trials, didn't he?
Absolutely blew it away. Yeah. Very talented kid, mate. He ended up playing 52 minutes on debut against that Broncos pack. Blake Steep only played 37. I was very surprised to see Feketi play so many minutes, but I thought he held his own.
Yeah. He's a 13, isn't he?
He is a 13.
Yeah. I wonder whether they move him in sooner rather than later, just because Victor Radley they put on an edge. Connor Watson will be 9 for most of the year.
There's no Radley this week anyway, so he might get a chance.
Well, Radley started on the edge this week, and was it Docker Clay that started at 13?
I think it was Wong.
Wong started at 13.
I'm a bit surprised, boys, considering the spine and everything going on. I'm a bit surprised Radley's on an edge still.
Yeah, I was
I'd
too.
add 13 for sure.
Yeah, I would too. I was surprised. Yeah, so sorry. Wong played 67 minutes of lock. I wonder whether could you move Wong into the front row and Viketti eventually gets that 13 role? Because I feel
You got Spencer Lenu to come back into this side
True,
in round
true.
3 too.
Nat Butcher to come back. So
Yeah.
Egan Butcher as well, who's come back from, I think, an ACL. So there are a few faces to come back.
the only reason why I'm just kind of posing the question is like, is Wong an out-and-out 13? I'm not sure. Is he more of an edge back rower? Also, is Butcher an out-out 13 or is he more of a back rower? Whereas I think like Viketti, although, he's further away in his development, from what I've seen anyway, he looks like an out-and-out 13.
I
just
like
wonder.
Nat Butcher on the edge. I always have.
I like him as well on
Yeah.
edge. But that's why I'm bringing up, like, could Viketti find his way there because he is an out-and-out 13?
Once again, same point. If only they had an out-and-out 13 that won 2 comps. Like, I can't believe like we're having a conversation about who should be the 13 and Radley's not.
Well, they just seem to...
I
Yeah, they
know,
just seem
but
to
I
not
can't
wanna do
work.
it.
I can't make sense of that.
Yeah. Maybe they're trying to shore up the edge defense or something, maybe. All right. Alrighty. It is time for the West Tigers versus the Knights. Going down 10-8. Showed a lot of fight, the Tigers. Knights, very scrappy. I'm really torn about this one because I don't know whether it was the Tigers' scrappiness and just hanging in there, or it was the Knights just playing extremely poorly. I'm not sure which one. However, I do commend the West Tigers for how much they did hang in there. Even if they lost, it's only 10-8. And that's a good base to start the start of the season with. Like, you're not getting beaten by 30, or it's not like 30-18 or whatever. It's a 10-8, it's low scoring, which shows they're doing the tough stuff. If I'm being honest, I felt like their short kicking game is actually what cost them the game. I felt like Lockie Galvin, Andy, also Luai, mid to short kicking game cost them the game. There were multiple times where they rolled it in, the kick chase wasn't good enough, and Ponga got out of in goal, or the kick wasn't deep enough. And so the good thing about that is you can tweak that. Literally, you can tweak that within a week. So I even though they lost, I think there's a lot to take away from this Tigers game for the West Tigers. I'm still a little bit unsure. Benji Marshall, the coaching, I think he's going to take a while to really, put his name out there that he is a head coach in the NRL. But all in all, I'd give it a pass mark for the West Tigers in round 1. Thoughts, Hammy?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been obviously nice to win the game, but, no Jureen Buller, no Appy Coruscant as well. You had those two guys in there. You'd probably hope they would make a further 2 points of difference in that game. You mentioned, though, good to see that they didn't get blown out because, in years gone by when we've lost, it's been, pretty bad. So, I respect the fact that they hung in there and, you think potentially the defence was then therefore good, but you look at the stats and we missed 50 tackles.
Yeah, I know.
So that's not great. But
that's what I talk about when I like the fight, because that shows that, technically that's a lot of missed tackles, but you're fighting for everything.
Exactly. So the attitude for me was a good thing, which is great. So there's obviously a fair few new faces in the team who were potentially like a little bit clunky with the ball in hand, but it was the first time Jerome had a game with us at all in the number 7 seed. So that's going to take a bit of time to gel. Obviously missing 2 other key players in the spine. With all that considered, not the worst first hit out. It was a bit of a dour game, one for the purists, that one. But I would hope with the addition of those other guys coming back in the next couple of weeks, like this is not a bad place to start in terms of didn't completely embarrass ourselves. Yeah, it could have been better, but basically off the back of Kalen Ponga, you're right. Every time that the ball went in the in goal, he found a way to get it back out of there. He was big for them. But apart from that, look, not pretty, but you can build off that.
And Knights made the 8 last year.
Exactly.
Like it's not, yes, some people might have them lower down the table, but they always are predicted to not go as well, and they make the 8.
Yep.
So there is that as well.
Yeah, I think Hammy, very fair. There was only 2 teams across Vegas in round 1 that missed more than 40 tackles. The Warriors with 44, the Tigers with 51. That says to me their scramble was good. You have 51 missed tackles against the Newcastle Knights with KP and Fletcher Sharp. You can see 10 points. You're doing something right.
And also, like Bulldogs, Bulldogs last year had a lot of missed tackles. Wayne Bennett, notoriously a side that didn't mind if you missed tackles as long as you were constantly moving. So, we always talk about it. Not all missed tackles are equal, And there was a lot of fight from the Tigers boys, which is good to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I take a lot out of that game. As you said, Buller and Appy to come back into the side, they were clunky. So they should be. 2 new wingers, new ball player, still a kid playing 5'8", realistically. I thought the decision-making at times with Galvin, he's got stuff to work on there, but he's young, he's raw. What I loved is just how keen he was. He was meant to be the right side half. He demanded so much football down the left edge. If you have a look at the defensive stats, Bradman Best made 5 tackles. Gagai made 27.
Yeah, wow.
That's how much he wanted that ball coming down that left edge. His kicking game, as you said, I thought he took a couple of poor options, got a little bit kick happy at times, but all stuff the Tigers can work on.
Fixate in a week, literally.
Yes. What I love to see is that there was 3 or 4 teams that came into this weekend and conceded 40-plus points. I just went, what the fuck? The West Tigers had every excuse to concede 40-plus points. They didn't. I think there's a lot of positives to take out of the Tigers.
Jimmy?
Yeah, it was a hard one to really get a sort of accurate perspective on because, I was like, were the Tigers really gritty? Were they defensively good? Or did the Knights bomb too many tries? And, are we flattering them with the scoreline? And I am with you boys. I lean towards there being some really good signs. Starting with the attack, it's round 1 with new combinations. As you said, Galvin switched edges. There's no Buller. There's no Appy.
A whole new backline.
Yeah. So
literally.
Exactly. So I'm willing to they scored 1 try 6 minutes into the game and couldn't score again. It's slightly concerning, but again, round 1, a team very much in a rebuild. The good signs were defensively, and I know the Knights had 7 line breaks and they bombed a few opportunities, but it just felt like a grittier Tigers defensive outfit to me. And, I said with the scrapping and scrambling and that sort of stuff, Guru, they still only scored, 2 tries, the Knights in this game, both quite late on in the fixture as well. Didn't concede a try in the first half. So I think the signs for the Tigers are good without getting, I know they lost the game, but without getting ahead of ourselves because there were still a few defensive issues. But round 1, a lot of different faces in there. They looked like they had a bit of ticker to me.
Yeah. And I like the fact that, Taruva, I thought, played relatively well. Skelton was outstanding. May was really good. So, signs of good recruitment. Guys coming to the club and continuing to play good footy. For me, though, I thought May was their best player. He is just, going to a whole nother level each year. To think, it's crazy to think of 2 or 3 years ago, he was just a fringy that was, sometimes in first grade, sometimes not. And now, he's becoming one of the premier front rowers. He really is.
Yep.
I'd argue that Benji potentially, and this sounds crazy, played 65 minutes. I think they got him back on too late.
Get him staying on for longer.
I think they had to get him on a little, when he came off, I was okay with that. But I think they had to get him on probably 5 or 10 minutes earlier than what they did in the back end because I think they needed some spark there.
Yeah, so he's 54 minutes was his first stint. And in that really crucial era of the game, actually where they scored their 2 tries, he was off the field, I'm pretty sure.
And, mate, at 55 minutes, they're keeping track of it all and everything, obviously. But, mate, I thought he looked fine. I genuinely thought he was going to go the distance.
I would rather him not come back on at half time and then spend the last 30 minutes on the field.
Yep, 100%.
I reckon that would be smarter rotation because you get 10 minutes at half time and then, so the 10-minute half time break and then 10 minutes. You give him a 20-minute spell there for another 30-minute big effort, but you would still be getting essentially 70 minutes of playtime from him. I would probably rather that rotation, I reckon, if you're going to make him do big minutes. Because, he's just he is seriously, he is the equivalent of all these other top-tier front rowers like your AFBs, your Hasses that are, so pivotal to a team's success. May has become that for the Tigers. He is, without him, it's a totally different side.
It's a tough one because I quite like the way they did it with the 55 sort of straight and, a 15-minute spell. I'm with you, Roo. I think he looked like he didn't break a sweat. He's phenomenal how fit he is. You don't want to lean into one player too much and you don't want to burn the bloke out for the back end of the season. He played some big minute, even some 80-minute games with the Roosters last year through the Origin period when forwards were on Origin duty. But before that, he'd play 13 minutes or something because Robbo was he managed him really well. I think I don't want to burn Terrell May out by the middle to late sort of end of the season. But I loved his role for them. So he was named at prop. He played as a lock, right? He had almost double the receipts of Alex Twoll, who was named as a 13, but 34 tackles without a miss there. He had 21 runs. He had 5 offloads, but did a lot of ball playing, which he didn't do as much of at the Roosters last year. He not only did he lead the pack, in metres and with his go forward, but A lot of ball playing and dishing off, bringing blokes under, a lot of tip-ons, which didn't see a lot of last year.
Especially in the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought. I was actually watching him going, oh, no, they've leaned too far the other way early. And I agree with everything you just said about not blowing him out and all that sort of stuff. But fuck, with 15, 20 minutes to go in this game, it was in the balance. I think they could have won it if they got him back on there earlier. I get the longevity. I understand that completely. But you're a club that's won 3 spoons in a row. You want to start this season with a win. You were in a spot to do it. I would have just gone.
I think it's match dependent.
And this match dependent was get him on earlier.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Timmy. Like, it's a friggin' long season, and the last thing they need is his last 10 rounds to be terrible because he's busted.
Round one, though, as you said, a tough few years. They're trying to get a win on the board. I get it.
Yeah.
With context, I would have just gone, fuck it, just do something.
Yeah, just get him out there.
And that's it. There's a difference in if, you got to lock forward and you're playing in big minutes or a front row forward in bigger minutes when they are the ball playing locks because they're not getting much out of them. But 21 runs, 34 tackles, he's not going to be a ball playing lock where he has 10 runs a game. No. He doesn't have it in him. So, yeah.
I think we're starting to see really also the ceiling of his athletic ability. Like the fact that he can go out and give you 180 metres or whatever, but also be a ball player, but also have an offload. Like, if he just... As long as Terrell May continues to train his ass off and be fully committed, the ceiling is whatever he wants, really.
Yeah, and then you've still got to add in, which will come over the next few weeks, as it will for all players. But I think his capacity is huge. Just getting match fitness under his belt, so he's just going to go from strength to strength. I think.
So only Twal had a better tackle efficiency than him. So Twal had literally 100% tackle efficiency.
He was great, Twal.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Like that, you don't see that in rugby league. And then after that, it was Terrell May with 91.89% tackle efficiency, which is with everything else that he did, is actually crazy. Like with all the other, very rarely do you see a player have the most offloads, essentially the best tackle efficiency, the most meters, the most touches as a forward.
And just to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of tackle efficiency, he didn't miss a tackle, but I think if they offload in a tackle, that goes down as an ineffective tackle.
So he had 3 ineffective tackles, but compared to everyone else, he still had the best efficiency overall. But Twal, he made 34 tackles and literally didn't make a single ineffective tackle.
So I believe that means, there wasn't one offload with him in a tackle.
Yeah, with him in the tackle. But that's what Twal delivers. That's why I don't mind if Twal starts at 13 because he can do a lot of cleanup work. He could just be that dog in the middle that just keeps everything together. In saying that, the combo of Bolle and May, don't mind that either. Up front, obviously.
I thought Bolle looked really good. I went back to the stats after. I think he missed 7 or 8 tackles, which I don't know. Once again, not all missed tackles are equal, but my eye test to him watching him live, I thought he looked really good, Bolle.
Yeah, I was the same. I liked his line speed. I think a lot of those tackles probably came from... He's being probably told to be hyper-aggressive, I'd say, because he's only playing 44 minutes. And so if you're playing 44 minutes, you better be going 100 miles an hour whilst you're on the field. Another guy as well that I know Api Coruscant is about to come back. I thought De Silva had some really good moments. He really did.
Yeah.
I thought he looked quite crafty around the ruck.
Yes, very slick with the ball in his hand. Now they started Tristan Hope, I think because particularly defensively, Tristan Hope definitely looked a little bit better through the pre-season.
Great story about Tristan Hope.
How good is it? Yeah. Worth checking out that bit of content if you have a 27-year-old debutant. Really well-deserved debut, but I didn't mind that. I thought, let the sting come out of the game a little bit, then let De Silva come on and work his magic where he took a couple of really sharp runs out of dummy half. Brilliant service as well. Very exciting player. So
it's just his defence that he'll need to keep building on.
Yeah, keep improving on that. Yeah. But a nice little 1-2 punch of him and Appy is going to be a handful for a lot of teams this year.
Is that what we're expecting this week with Appy available? Him being 9 and 14?
You'd assume so, unless Benji leans to Hope's defence.
Yeah, that'll be the only question mark for me. But
seriously, how some of the depth in key positions, Latu Finer doesn't even get a start.
Yeah.
You got Appy come back in, so Tristan Hope who started, Talon De Silva, building well.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, that's the only one that I was thinking of. The Latu, if you're going to have Appy, he's going to play big minutes. Maybe Latu would be the better fit at 14, but
because he can do a few more positions rather than just hooker. Yeah. I don't mind that as well. But it's a nice problem to have. Yeah.
You know what's crazy is I think we could all say Lockie Garvin a bit of an underwhelming performance in regards to where we know he can be at. He still ran for 148 metres.
Mate, that's the kid is... he can't help himself. He just loves footy too much.
He just loves it.
He just wants to be involved all the time. And I think on the weekend that was almost to his detriment at times. He's just got to find that balance. But the other thing I love about him, and Reece Walsh the same, said it for years, Galvin can put in 3 shit kicks and go, fuck, I'm ready for the next one. Let me try again.
I'm intrigued to see him making that shift to the right edge in that one. As you said, I'm so happy that they didn't just sit in there and go stay there. Like, he was roaming like a headless chook both sides of the park, which is very exciting for him. But big move going from left to right as a half, especially like passing and everything. Big difference.
Absolutely. Because we were talking about that in the preseason preseason preview of like, will they swap because Luai, that's his strong side, rah. Thoughts on Luai's performance, boys?
Thought he played like a real traditional 7. I think that without your fullback, without your hooker, and with a 5'8" who's a little bit scat all over the place, I think it's just going to take time, realistically. But I thought Luai looked good.
I thought he looked solid. Like, you have to remember, he's coming in. Look, if this was against another team that came in the bottom 4 last year and they lost, you could be like, hang on a sec, I thought you were supposed to be the guy that changed things. But as I said, a 10-8 loss to the Knights, it's not bad from where the Tigers are at. I thought he was solid without being, great. I think because he hasn't spent a lot of time kicking in first grade because Cleary's the man, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for his eye to come in for kicking. But that's part of the journey with moving him to 7. So I thought he was solid.
Agree. I'll take it. And I think that the more these guys play together, the more they'll gel, the more it'll come together. And I think having Appy and stuff there will be a big boost for him as well. But, probably wasn't as smooth and free-flowing as we know he can be. But first hit out, hadn't even played a game yet. Missed all the preseason.
I thought it was solid.
I'll take it. I thought it was all right.
But as well, like 12 months ago, if the West Tigers reserve grade spine was Heath Mason, Galvin and De Silva, you would have gone, oh yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's an incredibly young spine for what Jerome Luai had to deal with on a rival too.
And so not only has he not played a trial match, so this is his first game, he usually isn't the main kicker, all that stuff. So I thought it was a pass mark. I thought he would be, I was worried he was going to let the loss get to him a bit too much. Like, I was worried that you're going to look at his body language after the loss and he'd be all pissy because he's not used to losing or whatever. But I actually took a lot out of the fact that he looked quite calm, just like, okay, there are a lot of things to work on. That actually is a better reaction for me than if he's pissy. Because if he was pissy, you'd be like, oh, fuck, he's going to have to get used to probably losing half his games around that mark, which is a different, it's different.
I think he would have walked away from that pretty confident in that he knew if they can just sort out a couple of things with Galvin and his decision-making, which will be Jerome's responsibility, and he knows what he's going to do with Galvin. I think he walked away from that pretty confident about where they're heading.
I thought Hunt had some good impact off the bench. But yeah, Skelton for me, he was outstanding.
Gun.
Really, really good. And I genuinely believe that if everything didn't happen at the Doggies, I reckon they probably look back on that and go, shit, if we had just given that an extra month or two, we probably could have kept Skelton, because I think he's going to be, yes, there are things that he will continue to need to work on in his game, but you're coming out running for 210 metres in your first hit out, 87 post contact. That's exactly what the Tigers need.
5 tackle breaks, just like a real handful. And again, like I always used to be a fan on that left wing of Taniela Tuaki growing up, and he really reminds me of him. Just like a real big body, good starts to your set. Very impressed with what I saw from him. I thought he was unreal, over 200 metres, 87 post contact. The other one, I suppose, is just the guy on the other wing, Taruva. He's obviously over on the right, and we've just spoken about, Galvin and Luai kind of both favour the left, but that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch this year. I just hope they get him enough ball over there on that side, because he's such a gun too, and I think he played a lot of time. He kind of moved around a bit, but at the Panthers. But I hope that they kind of use him as a good attacking option too, because we've got an absolute gun on both sides of the field now.
You know what I loved was Skelton in this game too. They kept kicking off to him.
Yeah,
just catch and go, fuck it, I'm coming back out there. They did it so much that I sort of thought, was it a tactic from the Knights to do that, or
so he's not doing play 2 maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. They just kept kicking the ball. To him. I couldn't make sense of it.
Probably makes sense. So because he'd be harder to handle on play 2 than 1. You've got a defensive line ready to go. Play 1 maybe.
Yeah, star in attack, and sorry to be Debbie Downer. Shout out Kempy's mum. Defense will be that's the watch this year, right?
For sure.
In attack, he's a gun, and if he gets his defense right, there'll be rep football on the horizon. That's the big watch, right? Like, especially going from what was a really good defensive outfit in the Doggies last year in the games that he played there into a Tigers side that in recent years has struggled defensively. If he can get his defence right, look out, but big watch.
I think I'm with you, and that's why I said, like, there's things he's going to have to work on with defence. But honestly, this version of him, I think it's enough for what the Tigers need. Like, I'll cop bad reads in defence if he's giving me 200 metres every week. Or where the Tigers are at right now.
If he lets it try in a week, but he runs for 200 metres plus and can finish a nice one and a try that a lot of wingers wouldn't score, you can deal with it for now.
Yeah. That's where I'm kind of like, fingers crossed he develops, because then I agree with you. There's like rep footy is right there for him. But I'm actually, if he just does this, scores his try a week, 200 metres, lets one or two in, for where the Tigers are at on the table, I'm like, you know what? From where before, where their backs would maybe do 120 metres, but also have bad reads.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You just kind of cop it a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's definitely what we've got on the wings now is like a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
From where we've
but
been.
I agree, though. Like, defensive reads has always been his thing that he's just going to have to work on. But, we've seen plenty of wingers get better at it. Okay, now on to the Knights. Look, this was the Kalen Ponga game for me. I put on my Instagram just the work that he does in defence, the amount of times that he's trailing along the inside, that he's talking, he's ripping blokes out in defence. If he's not on that field, I think Tigers win that game. I really do. The amount of times that they grubbered it in, and you could say it was a mixture of a bad kick chase, but also, KP's brilliance. If he's not there, I just don't think that they win. Granted, I still think Bowman Best played outstanding. I thought he was really bloody good. But for me, it was just Kalen Ponga, just outstanding.
The way that he wheeled his way out of the in goals, 2 or 3 occasions. My
God.
Like, they were real momentum swings, I thought. Like, it was those moments as well that I think Galvin would have got a lot of confidence from, because there was some poor kicks, but there was also a few that I'm like, that should be a forced dropout 9 times out of 10. Unfortunately, you kicked it to Kalen Ponga, and he just manages to make it work.
I'll tell you how much it changed everything. So he did the first one, which was mental, and the whole set he was mental. He made 2 tackles before that. Did another one within a minute or so. They scored their next try a minute later from the second one. From the first one, it was 3 minutes after that. They scored their first. Oops, sorry. That's the snippet. Apologies, mate.
Wake up, Kebby.
No. Yeah. So the first one he gets out, that changes momentum to a degree, but they manage to get back down to the Tigers. They do it again, he gets out, they score their next set. And that's genuinely, I feel like, where the game was won. Like, if the Tigers roll that ball in, that's an extra 12 tackles on their line, which could be the difference.
You mentioned when the game was won. I thought when the game was almost lost, why they didn't take that penalty goal.
Risky.
Dumb.
I think it's dumb, mate.
I think that they just felt that they were such a better attacking side than the Tigers, I reckon. Because they did create a lot of chances for themselves. They just dropped the ball all the time.
8-6 down, 20 minutes to go.
I'm with you, boys. I'm with you. I'm just trying to...
By the time you build scoreboard pressure, you make it count. That was...
Mate, I'm with you.
Bad decision.
I'm going for that too every day of the week.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get inside their heads. And, like, if they completed a high percentage, like, they were creating opportunities for themselves. So I think that they were just like, we're very confident we can score here.
Especially when you're watching Adam O'Brien up in the box
God.
absolutely
He looked
fucking
round.
nuts. And then there's points sitting on a platter and they go, nah, we're good. It's like, fuck.
Mate, they completed at 64%. Their first half, they're at 55% completion rate.
16 errors. Like, you look at it for the Knights, and again, it's another hard one. You go, a 3-point difference there, and you go, what a terrible loss. Like, what have they done? How'd they bomb that? They got away with it. There were some good signs, but there was a lot of scrap in. They said bombed a lot of tries. You can't just go, well done, boys. We got the 2 points. Move on. Put it behind us.
Yeah, I'm with you, Timmy. I look at the Knights and I just go, don't get me wrong, there were some good individual performances. We talked about KP. We talked about Bradman Best. But if I'm the coach, I'm just going, boys, we just got away with that one. Like, we showed a bit of fight there for a period where we were dropping the ball. We defended our errors, which is a big win and a big positive for the Knights. And look, I think we all agree, like, defence has never really been an issue for the Knights. Like, we've always been me personally, I've always been pretty impressed with the grittiness that Adam O'Brien has instilled in the Knights defensively. It's just been their attack that has been a bit clunky at times.
And you're like, especially over the last 2 years, been so many occasions, and this was one where I walk away and I go, geez, the Knights played poorly, but they just found a way to win. Good on them.
They do it all the time.
They do it all the time, but when you've got a Kalen Ponga on your side, I don't think that should be the situation.
Yeah. They'll get better. I mean, granted, the Crossland, Ponga, Cogger, Sharp, they're relatively new together. They haven't played that much footy together because there's been so much chopping and changing.
I think that the halves is the big one, right?
Yeah.
Like there's where you go. Generally new combinations.
Yeah,
There. Fletcher Sharp plays very different to any of the other 5'8" who have played there for them. So,
and Sharp was pretty good too.
and as I said, they still made 7 line breaks. Like they created opportunities. They just didn't ice many of them.
I love the look at Sharp. I think he looks really good. Cogger, I thought he was pretty average in this game, if I'm honest. But, geez, I thought Sharp looked really, really good. I love that when Dylan Lucas made that half break, Fletcher didn't outthink the room. He just went, I've got to get to dummy half. Don't fuck around. Just give me the ball and just let me run.
Yep.
Love
7
that.
tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 128 metres. And, like, you know, through all the negative we've been about moving halves around or whatever, it's a masterstroke from Adam O'Brien so far. I think he's nailed it. Like, that's what they, you know, and granted, in the start of the season, I would have had Hastings at 7 and I would have probably had Gamble at 6. So I've got to put my hand up and say, got that wrong. At the moment, at least with Fletcher Sharp, I think that the risk of having another halves pairing is actually paid off for Adam O'Brien. He deserves credit for making that risky call, in my opinion.
I think both edges look unreal too. Dylan Lucas, he looked great, but also Kai Paul, mate. He's willing to offload now. I just feel like both of them are just back into that mould that Lachlan Fitzgibbon used to. He just run a hard line.
Lucas will be in the Origin squad this year, don't you reckon?
I reckon he'll be very close to it, if not. Yeah.
I reckon he'll be in the extended squad. I don't know if he'll start because Hamale is just going to a whole nother level, and Martin, like I don't think he's getting that edge spot.
And the other thing with AAB as well, like you sit there and go, like competition for spots is fantastic, but like Lucas, KPP, they were like, we've been a bit on edge all last year because Tyson Frizzell was there. Who are the edges? This year's gone, Frizz, you're a middle forward. These two are my 80-minute edges, just backing them.
Yeah.
And they look good.
Yeah.
Got to remember in this game as well, like the Knights didn't have Adam Elliott in the side, and Frizzell, he didn't play in a trial. He pulled out the second one injured. He only played, I think, 39 minutes in this one. So once you get Adam Elliott back in the side, where that all fits, I really hope they don't move Lucas or KPP. I really hope they just leave
Keep
Frizzell
them
in the
there
middle.
because you can have them there for the next 5 years. And just build whatever you want to. And there's also still so much they can build into. Like Dylan Lucas's line break for that try they scored. Like that was unbelievable. Like that was an incredible line break from a back rower. And he's only just getting started. Like imagine what he's going to be in 2 or 3 years.
I think it's a really obvious choice, but I'm nervous about what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, do you think they just bring Adam Elliott and bring him off the bench?
I think they do because Adam Elliott apparently has been told he can look elsewhere.
Okay.
So and that's reportedly, guys, so, you know. But I think it's Hetherington, Adam Elliott, and Brayley that reportedly have been told, you know, if you can find something else, you can go. But I look at that and I go, I'm not moving Lucas. He's just, him and Bradman Best were just under Kalen Ponga for me and Sharp as well. Kai Pearce-Paul, I just think that, like, we're still nowhere near to his ceiling. Whereas Adam Elliott, I actually think that, you know what, if you just go simplify, because sometimes he can work too hard, Adam Elliott. If you brought him off the bench as impact and just said, mate, I need you to be an absolute maniac for 30 to 40 minutes, I reckon that could work.
And I sort of just want him to put the ball under his arm and run.
Just run. Because I feel like there's a period there where his ball playing definitely was good enough to be a 13, and I saw him as a 13. But I feel like he might be getting to the age where let's just simplify it and just get you going straight up and down. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they've moved Frizzell to that middle rotation, like he's got to play big minutes there. The thing with Adam, though, who's, you know, played a lot at lock a lot over the years, he's big enough and he's very agile for a big unit. He can just play as a prop forward, really. He doesn't have to be as a 13.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Frizz goes down or one of the edges goes down and Frizz goes to an edge, Adam can be that big man at 13 for them like he's done many times before. But as it stands with a fully fit team, he just plays as another front rower / a lock, depending when they want to take Frizzell off.
Yep. Also, I want to give a shout out to Leo Thompson. You know, we all, you know, essentially challenged their front row this year by, obviously we didn't challenge them, but we had a challenge saying that they need to step up. And Leo Thompson had one of his better games, 14 runs, 141 metres, 70 post contact, 1 tackle break, 39 tackles, 0 misses, 0 errors. That's a bloody good knock from Leo Thompson. And also, Adam O'Brien deserves a massive rap. You've got a player that's already signed with another club, and usually that can end up as a disaster. You know, they're off each other, and, you know, you sign somewhere else. No, they put that to the side, comes out and has a bloody good game.
I think we're all pretty high on him in the preseason as a signing as well. But James Schiller, I thought he was really good in this one.
It's such a shrewd signing.
Yep.
Such a shrewd
Smart
signing. So when I look at the Knights, I agree with you boys. I think it's more along the lines of super messy, you know, scrappy as anything, but you got the win. And also, you created the opportunities. That's the hardest part. The execution, we can sort that out.
That'll come.
Yeah, that'll come. You created the opportunities. You were there to win the game. You got it done. Let's just move
Away
on to
from
next
home,
week.
conceded one try.
Well, the conditions are a little bit wet, if I recall correctly.
There was a little bit of rain that came through for a period of it.
Yeah. So, look, round one, I'll take it. I'll take it if I'm a Newey fan. And don't forget, guys, start of the show was a huge announcement. The Bloke Club. Head to bloke.club. It is free to join the Bloke Club. And on the 4th month, so in 4 months' time, you go in the draw to win a Mazda BT50. Each month, we give away prizes. The first month is $2,000 cash. And that's going to be going, essentially forever. As long as the Bloke Club is running, we'll be giving away prizes each month. So in 4 months' time, we're giving a Mazda BT50 away, and that is thanks to Luke Camilleri from Aspley Mazda. Give LDC_01 a follow, and if you need a car, give him a message, guys. He's the best in the business. He's dealt with Jai Opatai, he's dealt with Alex Glenn, Jarrell Yaya, a bunch of different athletes. He's also helped me out with my wife's car and my car. It was a smooth experience. Even if you're out of state, he can still help you out. So give him a follow, give him a message, and a massive thank you to Luke Camilleri for providing that to the Bloke Club for one of you lucky winners, and it's completely free to join. Plus, there's going to be a bunch of other stuff in the Bloke Club. Just go to bloke.club. Takes you 2 seconds to sign up, and boom, completely free. Alrighty, on to the next game. South defeat Dolphins 16-14. Also a super interesting game. It had a tinge of the Knights v Tigers, because I actually think the Dolphins made some Barry Crockers in crucial moments and had the game to win. The positive from a South perspective is you've got guys like Humphreys that, although short kicking game needs a little bit of work, long kicking game was quite good. And you've got guys like Campbell Graham back in the mix. You've got guys like Cody Walker, who I thought looked quite slick as well with ball in hand. So there are the young fella, what's his name, 13? That was quite good. Humna. So there was a lot of positives for both sides, but also there were periods where both sides completely switched off. So I wouldn't be too disappointed if I was a fan, but also I wouldn't be going, we're ready to go. I think both teams will look back at that weekend and go, you know what, there were good things and bad things to take away from it.
Just off the top of this game, shout out to the Dolphins, just for getting out there with everything going on at home and family, kids, all that sort of stuff. And, that meant they had to make some changes to their side as well. When you look back at them over the last few years, mate, at round one every year, there's an injury. There's a fucking cyclone. There is just something that has made life hard for the Dolphins every single year of their existence. So far, it's been tough. I thought the Dolphins showed a lot of grit in this one. I didn't love some of the changes they made to their side off the back of this. I think SOS and Isaiah Katoa, I want this to be Katoa's team. I think once you put Sean O'Sullivan in there, I think it got a little bit murky. I know Isaiah a little bit. I think he's probably at that point in his career where he's still a young guy. He's probably a little bit too polite to say, Sean, this is my team. Get out of the way. I would have gone with Donahoe at 6.
Mate, just put him there.
I don't understand why not. You can't,
When we've spoken about it in the preseason, all that sort of stuff as well, do they need an invitation to do it? Like now that somebody gets ruled out that he's literally just waiting there. They've got him on the bench anyway. Just roll him in because he's not like a game managing style half. He's a running, running half. So it would have been a perfect kind of balance for me. Maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity. Interesting to see, how they use him through the rest of the year. But I would have definitely given him the number 6.
They just re-signed him too, so they love him.
Yeah,
mate, they love him. They've had him training at fullback. He's going to be a big part of the future of this club. That's why I thought, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Bud Sullivan, he lobbed at right centre during the game. I don't think they got at him enough because I think the power struggle between Katoa and Sean O'Sullivan was in full swing. Yeah, whoever you're going to pick to partner Katoa, it's his team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a no doubt in my mind. If you're going to partner Katoa and there's even a hint that you think that you're going to run the show, you just don't get selected.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that if you pick someone who naturally wants to be the main ball player, that's not their fault. It's actually on the selector's problem because you shouldn't pick someone that does that. You should pick someone that can play second fiddle.
And SOS is he's a solid halfback.
He's a solid, structured halfback.
You needed a 6 to partner Katoa in that game.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I will say also, Tupou didn't have the best night.
No.
Bombed multiple tries. Genuinely, if he scores one of them, they win. And so still got a bit of work on his game, I think. I think they missed Bostock as well.
Big time.
Big time. And I think if he is on that wing, I know that he's played centre a bit, but if he was on that wing, I think that he scores those tries.
I thought this was a huge performance from the Dolphins with all the adversity that they had to overcome. You know, like having your game change. It's not like it's been changed from the northern beaches of Sydney to the southern beaches of Sydney or Olympic Park, whatever it might be, Parramatta. Like, got changed states a few days before with already having concerns about, the cyclone coming in, the threat that this poses. A lot of them, obviously, their families there. I think it was 3 players decided to stay back with families, including your number 6, who we just mentioned was a little bit problematic there anyway. To do that and come down here and lose by 2 points, with already injuries in your team as well, including, as you said, Jack Bostock, big performance. Were they at their best? No, but they probably shouldn't have been with everything going on. So, to go out there, as good as anyone can, be going out there without the right mindset and having other things that you're worried about, let alone getting on a flight the next day to get back to Queensland. I thought it was a huge performance from them.
Yeah, and that's one of the positives you can take out of it. They're not missing heart. The Dolphins, since they've come into the comp, they're not missing heart. They rip and tear. Just some of those executions, watching that game, I really felt like they could have won it. I really do. And so I feel like knowing Wolfie, he's such a winner. Yes, he's going to be happy with the effort, but he's going to be like, we let that go. We let that go. All right, we'll talk about Dolphins first and then we'll get into the Rabbitohs. In regards to the half situation, I'm a bit worried that that's going to become a sticking point all year long. And I'm worried that, because the problem is in the trials, it was Averillo. They put him in there, realised he's not a 6, put him at centre. And so I feel like, look, we don't know as much as the Dolphins. They're the ones that were with him all the time, the coaching staff, everything. But I feel like the answer's staring them in the face. They're not going to win a premiership this year or maybe even the next year. But I'll tell you what you can do. You can build a combo of Katoa and Donahue for literally the next 10 years if you want to. I feel
what
like...
percentage? I haven't seen a lot of Donohoe at 5'8". I feel like I've seen him play every other position. What percentage of his footy coming through was in the halves? Or what was he... Because he's played everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he was young coming through, but he came in and played a bit of 9 last year. Just
his trials, the first trials,
off the back of what you just said, mate, I'm not convinced that they trialled Alvarillo at 5'8" and thought, he's probably a better centre. I think Jack Bostock got injured, and then that's forced them to move Alvarillo there. Then they moved Nicarima, then he had to pull out, so then they've ended up with Sean O'Sullivan.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I agree with you, but I think that's what they've done. I don't think they've eyeballed Alvarillo and gone, no, actually, he is a centre. I think that it was the dominoes that fell. They didn't have another outside back that they wanted to put into the back line, so they shifted their 5'8" to centre, which I don't agree with.
Gosh.
But
I hope not.
That's how I see how it's played out.
Okay. I hope not, because your 6 and 7 are way more important than your centre. Surely they've got a centre in their squad that can just make his tackles.
I hate teams that have a setup, and whether this is or isn't true about the Dolphins, and that's how it's played out, and maybe it is, that when there's one injury, your spine changes. Look, one injury outside your spine and your spine changes. It shouldn't be that way. And the Knights are concerned with that. If something happens to Ponga and then Fletcher Sharp has to go to fullback, I'm like, Ponga, who's had a lot of head knocks and injuries in his time, it can't be one injury away from changing your spine. You need to be trying to keep your spine together at all costs.
Yeah. Agreed. Totally agree.
In their last trial, just having a look at it, Jake Averillo was named at centre because Junior Tupu was on the bench. He ended up starting that game, so then they moved Averillo. He started back at 5'8". And then Jack Bostock got injured, so they did the shuffle again. So I don't think they've eyeballed Averillo and gone, no, he's probably a centre. I think they want him to be the 6. I just think they don't have other outside backs they are willing to put out there for that first game.
Who else? Tessie New's still there? He's still there, isn't he?
No, he's gone.
He's gone. But they've got decent outside backs.
They've got young guys there, but...
hey, look, if you've got 2 teams that played in the Q Cup Grand Final, surely you've got an outside back that can just play centre. I think the spine is so important that it's lesser a priority to move your 6 and 7. I would much rather have my 6 and 7 that I want all year long, especially if they've never played together before, which is Averillo and Katoa.
I think an issue that I see and have had for a while with the Dolphins, I think it's a credit that they've done so well considering, but it's just that all their halves options, probably outside of Sean O'Sullivan, who we don't maybe expect to be there when they're full strength, just small defensive halves. And I think it's a credit to Wayne Bennett and the Dolphins in the last couple of years that they've gone as well as they have with, Cody Nicarima there, who's an obvious target in defence. Isaiah Katoa, who's been an obvious target in defence. If they do decide to end up with Averillo there, he has his defensive issues and he's an obvious target in defence, which is where our argument of, right, if Kurt Donohoe can do that and play that role, he's a much better defensive body there.
Plays in the middle.
Yeah, so whether or not he's good enough to play 5'8", again, I haven't seen enough of him in the halves, but it's just such easy spots on both sides.
The way I see it is this: if you can play number 9 in the NRL and also trial at fullback, you've got the ability to play 6. Because if you're fullback, you can run the ball well, and if you're playing at 9, you can tackle well. Yeah. That's all I want from him. Run the ball really well and tackle well. Let Katoa do everything else. But as I said, look, they see way more than we do each week. So I guess there's just something that they're seeing at the moment that we're not. But as I said, I just want to reiterate the fact, I do love the heart that club has. Yep. Like that is something that is so hard to find in an NRL club. Like there are teams that have been around forever that, don't show as much ticker as the Dolphins, and they do. And credit is owed to the club being willing to just go, yep, we're going to move the game down to Sydney. Granted, I agree that they should do that because of, they're all paid quite well and it's the NRL and all that stuff, and give the players the options if they need to get home, and which they did, which is really good. I also like their attitude coming into the game. There was no real excuses from Wolfie of like, oh, we've got to lose this guy, that guy. He was like, no, we're good to go. So from a Dolphins perspective, the good thing is, the really, really good thing is, A, they created enough opportunities to win that game easily. B, it's post Wayne Bennett, and they've still got that ticker, which is, that was the biggest concern. Wayne leaves and it just falls apart. With everything going against them, they got this close to being a Wayne Bennett coached Rabbitohs side with a bunch of stars in it. Yes, they're missing Murray and Latrell, but they've still got a lot of stars in it. Look, as I said, if you looked at the parts of the game where they could have won and they didn't, yes, you can be frustrated, but there is still a lot of positives to take out of that, in my opinion, for the Dolphins.
What a return by Tommy Gilbert, obviously named captain during the week, and you can see why in a heartbeat.
Beast.
Yeah.
Absolute beast, like just old school.
And I think this Dolphins side too, I think we just keep forgetting because it's been so long, but they're coming into this season with Tom Flegler out too. He's an Australian front row forward that they've signed.
Could you imagine them with Flegler on this side, how much better it would be?
Yeah. First NRL game back from, it was an ACL, yeah?
Yep.
59 tackles in 56 minutes.
He didn't even play huge minutes. It was, the workload he got through in that time was incredible.
It's just,
I think they pretty much had to take him off for his own good.
Just what the Dolphins have done in the situation they've been in has just been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Plath jumps out onto the edge, doesn't miss a beat.
They've signed so well for the situation they were in, especially a couple of years ago. And they haven't gone silly either. How many other clubs have gone, you know what, let's just go break the bank on someone and bring him to the club? No, they've been patient. Just got to sort out some of the, bombing of tries and all that stuff. If they can get that out of their game, they'll be tough to beat. Anyone else for you boys from the Dolphins?
Just Herbie, as per usual. Another big game.
I loved his battle against Whiten.
Yeah,
it was great, wasn't it?
Whiten went hunting him. Herbie was loving it.
Points to Jack. Jack was good.
Yeah, Jack got him.
I thought Jack got him.
Started solid, didn't he? Got him with a good tackle.
He was, but Herbie did still run for 183 metres. So
that left edge bonus, as it tends to do, I think all 3 tries were down there, weren't they?
Yeah. And also Herbie had 3 offloads. 22 tackles, only 2 misses.
Herbie did all his work, but that was all he could do. You know what I mean? He couldn't do anything else because of Whiten. I thought Whiten was so good.
I'll just get Whiten up here. So Whiten, 122 metres, 35 post contact, a try assist, line break assist, and 1 tackle break, and 19 tackles, 2 misses. It was super close. Put it that way. Super, super close.
Yeah. Put his stamp on it a few times. There's the tackles on the sheet there, but really got into him a couple of times.
For sure.
Out of him.
And not all tackles are equal, obviously.
I think just stats to Jack credit there.
Never have.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that he's targeted him, pretty much going, you know what, you're the Dally M centre, I'm coming after you. And I tell you what, Herbie, knowing Herbie, next time he's going to be like, oh, okay, I probably caught Herbie a bit by surprise because there's not many centres that will really go after you. Jack Whiten is one of those old school centres that is almost looking a little bit for a stink.
Yeah.
And so I think Herbie's probably going to go, oh, okay, all right, yeah, sweet. He still had a bloody good game, but I think the next time he plays the Rabbitohs, he's going to be if they do play the Rabbitohs again, I think he'll be ready, much more prepared for what's about to happen. Campbell Graham, good return for me. More than good, outstanding return. Hadn't played for 500 days or whatever, comes back, runs for 202 metres. There's a 95 post contact. He had 3 offloads. He, 3 offloads. Like,
And he won the game with a try-saving tackle.
yeah,
And he had to change positions pretty much.
like, mate, if he doesn't wear an Origin jersey at some point in his career, it'll be the greatest travel. It might be a bigger travesty than Croker's situation. I always felt like Croker at one stage could have just worn that jersey at the peak of his career.
That tackle he made, 8 minutes to go, up by 2. As you said, Roo, he moved to the wing because Ty Munro had gone off injured, hadn't played in 553 days, had that 2-on-1, like, team score from that, 99 times out of 100. That was masterful. And it was in doubt for round 1 with a broken hand as well, just on top of it all. It was like defensive prowess.
Yeah, that's so good. And he's another one. Like, you can actually look at his stats. It says 4 missed tackles, only 5 made. But again, not all missed tackles are equal. And when the big moment came, boom, nailed it. Plus the 202 metres. Like scrappy, but just imagine this side. I know Murray's essentially out for the season, but you bring Trell back into this side. Somehow you've got to fit Gray in. I don't know how you fit Gray in, but you got to, because he was unbelievable. Where do you put him?
I don't think you can fit him in, unfortunately.
280 run metres, 116 post contact.
Could he be a 14 right? I know they had Jaden Sullivan there the other day, but
I know there's fans screaming, Rabbitohs fans screaming right now, you know, Trell to centre, Campbell Graham to wing, Gray to fullback. No. I think you keep him a fullback, Trell.
Yeah, I think.
However many for however many metres Gray makes, that still doesn't account for like 3 or 4 try assists a game that Trell does.
For sure. And I mean, the reality is when you get to your big games, I love Jai Gray. I want Latrell at fullback. Yeah. That's the end of the story.
It's not even a combo, yeah.
There's a lot of Rabbitohs, Matty, you can speak, there's a lot of Rabbitohs fans that believe it.
Oh, like looking on Rabbitohs Facebook forums, they're the biggest Jai Gray fans in the world. But Latrell's my fullback. But I don't know how, but I think Gray's got to be in the 17 somewhere.
I just think if you pick him at 14, I think he ticks all the right boxes, a nice 14, but I don't know if I want Mamazelis playing 80 minutes. You need someone else that can play 9. Can Jai be that guy? I actually think he'd do okay at it. Yeah. I think he'd be fine. As I've always said, I actually think 5'8's his better position than fullback. So I think he'd be okay in the line. You don't think playing him for 20, 25 minutes, but he is a small body. I think you're trying to jam Jai Gray into spots that he doesn't quite fit.
I wouldn't be letting him play 9 at all. He's too small. I think he'd get run through. Granted, Mamazelis isn't very big either.
Could you move Humphries to 9, him at 6 or 7, and Cody Walker takes
I'm not fucking around with my best halfback at the club to fit Jai into the side. Okay. And I think that's the problem.
I will say one thing about Mamazelis. If you did want to play Jai Gray as the 14, Mamazelis, it was classic Wayne Bennett with his number 9s, right? It was just dish early, didn't really look to take the line or run at all. If all you're doing is saying to him, mate, go out there, make your tackles and give good quality ball to the blokes outside you, to your halves, I think you could do it. I'm not saying I want that, but like if you did want to get Jai Gray in at 14, because you'd also probably got Havili on the bench too.
That's what I was going to say.
Spend time at 9.
Yeah, I'd let Havili give Mamazelis a spell and have them both on the bench. Because Havili and Sullivan both played in round 1, so you can just switch out Sullivan.
The Curly one, and I'm not suggesting do this now, but if in 2 months' time the Bunnies are struggling a little bit and between Humphries and Dodd and these guys, like, we've mentioned it before, but he came up through the halves, right, Jai Gray?
Yep.
So, again, you wouldn't do it now, but that's an option. Him and Cody.
Humphries, boys. I mean, there are some parts of his game he still needs to work on, all that stuff. But if I'm a South fan, I'm just going, praise Lord Jesus. Whoever you pray to. Whoever you pray to, just pray to him. If it's Thor, if you pray to Thor, pray to Thor. Because he made 30 tackles, 0 misses, and kicked for over 700 metres. If that's all he needs to do, he literally, and he did actually more than that, but if he just does that, kicks the shit out of the ball and tackles really well, they are in an unbelievable spot for at least the next 2 years whilst Cody Walker's at 6.
Has to be the halfback. I feel so sorry for Dodd. He's come halfway across the world. He has to be the halfback. He just can't do it. And I know I've seen people in the comments, you're paying Dodd so much money. He has to be the halfback.
Nah,
I'm here to win games of football. I need to pick the best halfback in the squad. It's Humphries, and I haven't seen enough of Dodd, but I don't think it's overly close.
Look, this is the NRL. Like, unfortunately, you give someone else an opportunity, that's how quick it can happen. Boom, just like that.
And also, like,
he's got plenty of time in New South Wales Cup to work on his game as well, Dodd.
Like, feeling sorry for Dodd. Dodd came over here. He knew the competition he was coming to and that it wasn't going to be a walk-up start from at half. And to call it what it is, Humphries, like, he was coming as a fringy, like a reserve grade at Manly. So I was like, Dodd had every chance. If he was good enough during the pre-season in the Charity Shield and that, his jersey would be there. But Humphries has jumped him and, like, he should be the one starting.
I think, and also, like, would it hurt Dodd that much to spend half a season or even a whole season in New South Wales Cup? I don't think it would. I don't think it would. And this isn't to suggest that, like, I'm not counting Dodd out. There's some people that are just, like, counting him out completely. Give him some time. He might turn out to be frigging outstanding. Give him some time. Give him a couple of pre-seasons in the NRL, a couple of seasons in New South Wales Cup. He might turn out to be a bloody good 7. But I just think at the moment, with the way the game is and the versatility of Humphries and the physicality of him and the fact that you've got Cody Walker outside him that is just so silky with the hands, it's kind of like, it's a no-brainer.
I think as well, the situation South find themselves in without Latrell, without Cam Murray, I think you need a little bit extra in that 7 jersey, and Humphries provides that. If we get, halfway through the year and Dodd has to come in and he's got Latrell at the back, I think he can do a job. But I just think right now Humphries is the guy.
I think actually long-term Humphries could be an incredible 9. I think he's just got the build for it. I don't get me wrong, maybe he turns out to be an amazing 7, but you just look at that build and the fact that he made 30 tackles, 0 misses, you just go, mate, if he was in 9 there and you had and anyway, long-term, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, well, great player, and I mean, we said the same thing last year at Manly. Like, he had all the right ingredients. Played a bit of 9, played a bit of halves in the trials and in reserve grade. It's good to see him just like getting a crack somewhere because for me, he's too good to be playing in reserve grade. I was very impressed with what he did the other day. And you're spot on because Cody Walker's such a gun, can do all the creative stuff, all the attacking bits and pieces. And obviously when Latrell comes back in as well, they can take care of that. That's what they need. If you've got a guy there that just doesn't miss many tackles and kicks them to death, big tick. So, I can't see them really changing. There's no need to, no rush to. I reckon he's their man at 7.
I think, like, short king game needs a little bit of work, but that's what Cody Walker's short king game is actually quite good. So it's just like, he can work on that. He's a rookie still. Really, really, like, as I said, as a Rabbitohs fan, if there's one position you want to find the next gun in, it's number 7. And so you're sitting there just going, thank God. I thought Jairo was outstanding. Some of his aggressive try-saving tackles and even just his defence and running the ball, I thought he was outstanding. Another guy...
42 tackles, none missed, Jairo.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. He's unbelievable. But another guy that I swear to God I watch games and I go, oh, he was all right. And then I look down at the stat sheet and I'm like, what the hell? It's Colin Matangi. But he had 17 runs for 186 metres. Like, I didn't watch that game and think that Keon had that many metres. Like, there's no... But once again... You look down and you go, holy shit, you just ran for that much money.
When we're doing our team of the week, I thought Jairo was really good in this one, and I went to have a look at his stats and noticed Keon's there. I did the same thing. I thought he was good, but you read through his numbers, very impressive. I love the aggression that Jairo brings. He's just an asshole in all the best ways.
He looks like injury-free too.
Yeah, like I don't mean that as a negative. I love that. You need that. I thought him and Hubner just bounced off each other.
Yeah.
That Bash Brothers kind of style. I thought both of them were really good. Hubner, not his NRL debut, but his South debut, he was solid. But Jairo made 42 tackles, missed 0, and just every tackle was crunchy.
Yeah.
Not that he's come out of nowhere, Tallis Duncan, but how much better does the depth of their pack look all of a sudden? Like, we've always loved Tallis Duncan. I like him more and more every time I see him play. They had the Cam Murray injury, which is obviously devastating for him, but Hubner comes in 59 minutes and was excellent. Like, he's an absolute, like you mentioned, Arrow. Hubner's a dog as well.
Yeah.
Like, he has that fight about him. And then, the 1-2 punch of him and Tallis Duncan. Totola as well. That was his first game in a fair while, who... I mean, he's probably a bit of a forgotten man to Vita Totola.
Yeah.
He's been so good for them for a number of years. A lot of injury issues the last sort of 12 to 18 months. But if he can get back anywhere near to his best, all of a sudden this depth in the pack's looking all right.
How good was Hubner grabbing Herbie Farnworth out the back? Like, just found a bit of... I thought the Bunnies found a bit of spark in that, just out of nowhere.
I thought that was fucking so unfair on Herbie.
Fucking oath it was, for sure. But
it was smart from
it fired Jairo up. It got them up and about.
I thought it was so bullshit that he got a penalty against him, though. I was like, so hang on a sec. Hubner's allowed to walk up and get in his face, and he's just got to cop it. Why, if the ref's supposed to protect Herbie in that situation and stop that from happening? Anyway, that's
Herbie would have had a bit of wee come out as well.
No, Herbie was ready to go.
Mate, Hubner is scary.
Mate, I reckon I'm backing Herbie there.
No,
I'm backing his reach.
I reckon Hubner will be an
Keep him on the end
animal
of
in
the
a
jab.
fight.
Could
Tough.
you imagine they like full on start boxing on the? It's not even a footy fight. It's like it's Herbie keeping him on the end of the jab. Smart from Hubner though to get under Herbie's skin like that and get a penalty. Even though I didn't think it was a penalty, but is what it is. Bloody rugby league these days, mate. Bloody soft. Yeah. So look, and Wayne gave him a massive rap. He actually said Lockie Hubner was the first guy he wanted to sign when he came to the club, and the club had actually already signed him. So that all works out. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Moali. Kepi was solid, I thought. So there's a lot to like here. I did feel at times they did miss Burgess' big body. The amount of times like that, because I felt like the Dolphins' defense line speed and contact was really good, and they were trapping them in their trapping him in their own end quite a lot. The amount of times Rabbitohs in the past would just go, come on, Tommy, can you get us out of this mess we're in? And his big body would just go, boom, land on his front, quick momentum. But look, messy, errors, all that good stuff, but they got the win. Move on.
I'm interested to see what they do now. I want to wish him all the very best, but another injury to Ty Munro. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed, but it sounds like he's out for a while. I was actually having a look through their squad. The depth in the outside backs, Matty, is it a little bit concerning?
Well, AJ's already out.
Yeah.
Now we've got Munro. Last year, that was Tass's first game since round 10 last year. Obviously, Cameron didn't play last year. So
Getting a little bit worried with Munro with these like repeat injuries.
Same injury.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a part of his body that it's always going to get hit.
There's
So
good
hopefully it's all
raps
good.
on this. Is it Hazen Mellors?
Injured.
Who? Yeah, I know. Thanks, Roo. Can I finish? Who did his hammy in the preseason? Anyway, over to you, mate.
Oh, you're no stranger to dropping the ball. Just trying to help you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I guess we'll. So they.
Jai Gray on the wing, maybe.
Nah, he's too small for the wing, I reckon. I mean, look, maybe crazy things have happened. Just that crossfield kick. I mean, we say it all the time about Ty, even though Ty is much bigger than Gray. But I guess that would be a little bit of a.
You got Fletcher Myers, who I think played reserve grade on the weekend.
He's all right.
He came in and played last year. He can do a job.
Yep.
But it is just, if Ty Munro is out for the year, I'm not sure when AJ's back, but if you just have another injury, you're going, oh, shit.
Yeah, it sucks because seeing Tyrone Munro when he was fit and ready to go, he looked unbelievable.
Yep.
If you were to have another injury, and depth is questioned, is that when you start to consider Latrell at centre maybe?
And put Gray at back because you're.
Just if they're...
I reckon you could find a winger in Q Cup or New South Wales Cup that just does his job. I'm not moving. I would never move Trell out of fullback just because if they are to win a premiership, it's with Trell.
The problem is, and I see you're right, if there's more injuries, it might get to a point where they have to. It could definitely happen. But I just, like, the chat of moving Tommy Turbo to centre, which I hate, and we won't get into that, but I'm like, at least if Tommy goes there, you'll roam. I just don't think Latrell's going to roam from centre. Like, because to get the best value out of him at centre, he'd have to roam and be getting a lot of touches. I don't think Latrell would do it.
Yeah, I think Tommy's a little bit different though because like you're just trying to keep him on the field. It's not that you want him there. It's just like whatever position it is to keep him on the field, put him in that one. Whereas with Trell, even though he actually has struggled a little bit with injury lately.
Like, Trell could go to centre and have 7 runs a game.
Yeah.
He'd probably score 3 tries, but it's like, are we getting the best out of him?
Out of
I
him.
just don't think so.
Yeah.
I'll cop it in the comments and that's fine. But this is where Tane Milne would have been handy. But anyway,
The GOAT, he's back. Get him back.
I should have kept him. I think it's
SOS.
stupid. But anyway,
Yeah.
He's up check. What's he doing? Tommy.
Get Obcheck back.
Get him
he's playing
back.
reserve grade.
Mate, get him back. So, look, got the win. Move on to next week. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. And also, there's it's always a good day for any club when you're unveiling young guns. Like, that's a positive for the Rabbitohs. They've got young guns in key positions coming through. Unfortunately, they're just going to have to somehow prepare for, at the very least, this season or most of this season with life without Cam Murray. And Hubner was pretty good. Obviously, he's not going to be Cam Murray's level. I don't think there's many players ever that will be Cam Murray's level, but he can bring his own version of, 13 to the table. Alrighty, on to the next game. I'll tell you who had a good day. The Bulldogs had a good day. Use code DMP for 10% off at begoodhealth.com.au. The best multivitamin in the game, guys. We all use it literally every single day. There's bloody packets everywhere here. It's super easy. You pour it into drink, you shake it up, you have all the multivitamins you're going to need for the day. Head to begoodhealth.com.au. Use code DMP for 10% off. If you combine that DMP code with a subscription, it's 20% off. Get around Hello Sport. They've also got the Hello Sport. They've got the Good Day Hill at Manly home ground too, which is cool. BeGoodHealth.com.au. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? The Doggies defeat the Dragons. It's a bit of a weird one because with 20 minutes to go, or 20, 30 minutes, whatever it was, I'm thinking, what a great win from the Doggies. Pretty much from about that 60th minute, I'm sitting there going, really, really good win from the Doggies. Dominant, controlled most of the game. But then all of a sudden, the Dragons scored a couple of late tries, and the scoreline doesn't really look as flattering as it should for the Bulldogs. However, round one, I'll forgive the Bulldogs for taking the foot off the pedal a little bit. I'm actually really impressed with the Bulldogs. They look like the worry coming into this year. I think everyone, including every Bulldog fan, is looking across to each other. Please don't be like the other sides that fell off after that good year. All signs, at least after round one, point to the Bulldogs are here to stay in the top 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of bullish on the Dragons winning this game, to be honest with you. I thought they were a really good bet this week. But the Bulldogs, mate, there was just no drop-off.
Zero.
And you got to remember, two really key guys missing on this side. Kiraz is obviously one, but when you look at the bench rotation, Josh Curran was another huge one who was enormous for them last year. So to come out and play against a Dragons side that I think they're going to be a decent footy side this year. I think they'll be hard to beat at home most weeks at least. Really impressive start by the Canterbury Bulldogs. Tilly Tupanua, club debut. Wow.
Jeez, there's the Satilli that we've all been hearing about for a very long time. I was almost surprised. I'd almost gotten to the point with Satilli where, and we probably didn't speak about him enough in the season preview, but I just felt like I'd kind of gotten to the point with Satilli, maybe he's not going to hit the heights that we all assumed he was going to. But all he needed was a fresh start and a different system, and holy moly.
Got to remember as well, he hasn't trialled either. That's his first game of footy. To hit the ground running like that is just a full credit to the Canterbury system. And I don't know, he's played one game for the Bulldogs. We've seen that sort of footy from him. We've seen it in flashes for the Roosters over the last, what feels like half decade, I would say. But to do it game one without a trial under his belt, it's full credit to Serraldo and what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and to imagine that next year they'll have Leo Thompson, Satilli, and there's another big front row signing on, I'm forgetting. No, they just got Zion as well.
Yep.
This Bulldog squad is building very, very nicely.
In a good spot.
Very, 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 very nicely. What do you reckon about the Doggies, mate?
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of the scoreline flattering the Dragons, because I thought they had some good signs and they showed grit to fight their way back into this game and even be back in the game late on. But I don't think the scoreline did the Doggies justice. The defence, again, early on, really good. 28-20, an 8-point margin in the end. But as you said, any of those concerns about regressing this year and, didn't exactly have a target on their head all last year off the back of a few poor seasons, but there is a target on the head after almost making the top 4 last year and, giving week 1 finals a good nudge. Yeah, just really impressive from the Dogs. So professional, great signs again. They've kept a pretty similar roster to recent years with a few new key faces, Satilli being the major one, who just a lethal, hard line runner. When he pins those ears, he's like a freight train. But good signs for the Dogs.
Absolutely. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I thought they came out, started very well. You're right, they did put the queue in the rack a little bit late, but I don't think that's panic signs from them. I thought they looked really good. I thought Kikau, for me, was pretty good. He was a handful for them as well.
Does he look fit, Kikau?
Yeah.
Looks super fit.
Yep. I thought there was some great signs there. I mean, good to see that they haven't completely, because obviously they finished the year not probably their best last year, but good to get an early win and not completely drop off.
And so looking at the Doggies, I reckon about 55 minutes, complete domination, really, really good. And it's at the last 25 minutes or so where they fell away a little bit. Understandable, first game of the year. And granted, I felt like the Dragons clicked into gear, and it did kind of go hand in hand with Little getting on the field. I thought Little really did spark them quite a lot through the middle there. But with the Doggies, as you guys have all said, it's just good to see them keeping that standard. It wasn't even though that last 20 minutes they allowed the Dragons kind of back into the game, it wasn't a scrappy win per se. It was yes, the completion rate wasn't the highest, but all those, standards that they set last year, they were all there to see again. Super fast line speed, good leg drive in their own tackles when they've got the ball in hand, great contact. The amount of times the Bulldogs would land on the Dragons player with the ball basically a metre from where the ball had been played. Like, their line speed is probably the best in the comp, maybe with Penrith just a little bit better. But outside of that, I think they're probably the second best line speed team in the competition, and that's what makes the difference. That's how they hold teams literally in their own friggin' 20 a lot of the time.
You mentioned there the game change. Jacob Little came on. No, I agree with you, had a big impact, but mate, Kurt Mann.
Oh, for the doggies, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
He came on in, I think, the 25th minute, and
Yep.
he left in the 54th, I think it was. Canterbury scored 4 tries in that period of time, and then Little came on, had a huge difference. But, mate, Kurt Mann is so integral to this side. It's crazy.
It's funny because literally on my notes right here, man on 27 minutes, game changes.
Game changes, yeah.
Literally
and then he
changes.
came off, and Dragons got themselves back into it.
And just quietly, that black
How
eye,
about the Shiner?
that's the craziest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Holy
I thought
moly.
it was photoshopped when I first saw it.
My God.
Black eye and also swollen.
Yeah.
Not
fully
a great
closed.
combo. Yeah.
Ah, man. Anyway, he'll be back next week.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
I remember last season, like speaking to people within the club at the back end, they lost their last 2 rounds, then lost to Manly in that narrow week 1 of finals, and they go, I think even before it, they're like, we're going to miss Kurt Mann a hell of a lot more than people think. And they did. They lost 3 on the trial. I can't remember if they rested in round 27, but he has such a big impact on this side, doesn't he?
Oh, massively. Massively. And he's just such a point of difference. And every time he gets the ball, he just creates space for them. I think that if you didn't have him in the side, they'd probably lack a bit of creativity around the ruck. But with him in there, it's just totally different.
He only played 36 minutes. It's 24-0 in the period of time he was on the field.
So good. So good. And like another example of a player that was almost like a utility at the Knights, went to the Doggies, really found his spot. Like, I reckon he might maybe sneak his way onto a bench for the Queensland Maroons this year, if not in the squad.
He's been in the squad before.
Yeah, he's been in the squad before. But I mean, with his form this year and last year and maybe this year, he could be a smoky for that bench spot. I know, Ben Hunt is still there or thereabouts. You've got Kalen Pong. You've got a lot of people you've got to try to fit in. But if KP starts at fullback,
Got Dearden as well.
you got Dearden, who
Munster.
you got Munster and Dearden and DCE, but
He can
you just never
cover
know.
everything.
He can cover literally everything. And so I don't know. Could you go a bench with Dearden and Mann on it? Maybe. I don't know. I just think that he's a lot closer to Queensland bench spot than people probably think at the moment.
And he's a guy that if he was given an opportunity, I know he'd do well.
Yeah, I think he'd
I
kill
have
it.
No concerns.
He
whatsoever.
suits Origin. He really does. He's almost like a Cam McInnes version for us. So if he keeps playing like this, who knows? Who knows? In regards to good performances, already spoken a little bit about it, but Kikau is just a guy that bizarrely flies under the radar these days. I don't know why. But he's still got all of the tools that that we came to love, where he was literally one of the biggest names in rugby league at the Eels. Goes to the Doggies. I think it's probably that quiet year that maybe took a bit of the noise off around him. But ever since pretty much last year, he's been outstanding for the Doggies.
Great. Yeah, he's there was rumours around him coming into this game. There was a few reports he could be out of this one. Mate, he looked like he was flying.
2 tries. Like,
But his game develops every year. There's always just something new to it that he's added in the off-season, or, he's gotten slicker hands. Like, that tip on for Montoya for that try, that should be illegal for a bloke his size.
no way she'd be able to do it. Yeah.
That one, he had the offload for
Mental.
a try as well.
Yep.
It might have been a kind of trace try. He was held up over the line, almost scored one of his own. He's looking lethal.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing is, like, you got Preston on the other side. You got Kikau. If they both go to new levels, because Preston, I feel like he looks injury-free this year. I feel like last year he really struggled with quite a few injuries. All of a sudden, Kikau at his best and Preston continuing to develop as we know he can. That's one of the better back row pairings in the competition. Like, it really, really is. And so that's a scary prospect. And then you put Satili at 13. All of a sudden, you've got this back row that is, like, scary. Like, it's almost snuck up on you a little bit, because the knock on the Bulldogs was, their forward pack it's a bit smaller. Yeah, they did well last year, but it's not a big name forward pack. All of a sudden, you go a back row of Preston, Satili, and Kikau. That's a bloody good back row.
And mate, I think because Satili was so good off the bench, sort of people just brushed over Harry Hayes. I thought he was unreal. I think he only played 30 minutes or something. He ran for like 150 metres. He was great. And, You got to remember as well, like as we said, Josh Curran isn't in this side. Curtis Morin isn't in this side either, who I thought was fantastic last year. The depth Canterbury's got, as you said, with Leo Thompson arriving next year, bloody exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then we haven't even spoken about the guy that killed it in the bloody, was it Edwards or something that killed it in the trials?
Nah, well, it's, Jack Todd.
Jack Todd.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
killed it in the trials.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so they're just building so nicely. It's really all coming together. Even Seraldo was asked about Mitch Wood, I think maybe last week, whatever. And basically the gist of it was like, guys, I'm worried about Mitch Wood's next 10 years, not the next 10 rounds. And so like the Bulldogs couldn't be doing much better. Like as in regards to like this rebuild that they're on, they really couldn't be doing much more right. They really couldn't be doing much more right.
Jack Todd, 56 minutes in cup, 173 metres. The man.
Wow.
Get him in.
Wow. Where do you fit
Where
him?
do you put him,
Morin
though?
can't even bloody
you
make
don't,
it.
you don't.
I was surprised Morin wasn't on the bench.
So was I, yeah. I think as well, like, and full credit to the guy I'm about to talk about, if Connor Tracy a year ago would have ran for 224 metres, had one line break assist, one try assist and 6 tackle breaks, you probably put him in team of the week.
Yep.
But we've just
101
become used to what he
post-contact.
does.
101
It's insane.
far out. And I'm so for Connor Tracy because he had an absolute Barry in his last trial. Turned it around. 101 post-contact metres as a little fella. I tell you, like, a lot of the time it's very hard to like place who made these changes. Like even with Penrith to a degree, because Ivan Cleary was at the club before this huge turnaround happened. And please, let me be extremely clear. Ivan Cleary was responsible for it. But there was a year and a half or so that he was there, and he was actually there before that as well. So, like, you've always looked at that Penrith squad and goes, where was the moment? Like, where was the moment? What changed in their program to take them from pretty much a fringy 8 side to the greatest side of all time? The really, I guess, exciting thing or cool thing about the Bulldogs, you can see very clearly Seraldo arrives. He has that year with a squad that is not his squad. And then immediately, like, you can see where the change was. You can see the moment happen. And that's what's really cool for Seraldo.
Yeah, and if you want to look for maybe a moment, probably look at Phil Gould, been in both buildings.
Yeah, really good at setting everything up. I wonder, Phil Gould seems like he likes to be there at the start of the setup, but then once it's all set up, he almost likes to move on to the next project. Going to be interesting to see when he feels like his job's almost been done to a degree.
Yeah, because we were at a thing the other day that Ivan Cleary was talking about, and he mentioned at one point that when he returned from the Tigers and walked back into the Penrith, he just said, fuck, this is different.
Yeah.
Like in that 2-year period, all the things that Gus had put into place and it had just all started to take hold, which is like, and it wasn't that long ago, the Bulldogs were just absolute shambles.
Just a basket case. Genuine
Absolute basket case.
Yeah. And to get all of that together, it was actually the Laundry Group coming on as a sponsor when they could barely find a sponsor. Laundry Group, very powerful man and company and business, owns a bunch of pubs across, I'm pretty sure, the country. I'm pretty sure he was the one that managed to get these people together at the table and build what they've been building. Because they came on to the Bulldogs like, I don't know, 22 or something around then when like no one would. Literally no one would. So all of them, the Laundry Group, Gus Gould, Seraldo, what an incredible turnaround.
I'll tell you what, after just, all of us were in Vegas a few weeks ago and the energy the Warriors fans brought and the English fans, and the Warriors probably won't be there next year, I think you have to send Canterbury.
Oh, it's got to be
That
Bulldogs
fan
Dragons.
base over there. It sounds like it's already sort of done, but if there's any thought, it has to be Canterbury for me.
Bulldogs Dragons 100% in my
I
opinion.
think doggies are locked in, aren't they? I mean, Ads DeRusi and Gus Gould, they both tweeted that photo of the doggies jersey 26. Got to be freaking close to locked in, surely.
Could you imagine the Doggies fans travelling? They would
Unreal.
be unreal. And then the Dragons fans, obviously, they've got that rivalry. If you want to bring quality to Vegas, a Bulldogs-Dragons game is going to be quality.
Yeah.
And imagine Flanagan would eat that up. He would throw stories out.
Well, Mad Dragon in Vegas as well. Imagine the content we get from
Fire
over there.
up.
Far out.
Imagine him at a poker table yelling fire up.
Outrageous.
Was a good trip, by the way, guys. Me and Hammy went over there. It was a bloody good trip. Worked our backsides off, but it was good. It was really good. It was really fun. What a stadium. Far out.
Outrageous.
I tell you one thing I do regret, though. I wish we had seen more shows, because I went to that Cirque du Soleil one
Yeah.
on the last night. It was unbelievable.
How did it stack up to Carrot Top?
The That was terrible. Honestly. So we went and saw Carrot Top and like, bro, I'm sitting there going, I'm 37. What am I watching right now? This guy is...
Well, he's been doing it since you were 7 years old. Been doing
You know
it
what? That's actually a fair crack there. I should have been a bit older. Bro, seriously. And there were some people in the crowd that were like, like loving it. And I'm going, how do you find this funny?
Me
This is funny.
potentially being one of them. Doing the prop stuff at the start.
The prop stuff was okay. Like, yeah, it was a bit witty, but once he got past the prop stuff, like, it was just...
You didn't like the meet and greet in the middle of the show?
For 5 minutes, he just starts just walking around shaking hands.
I stayed in that hotel and asked a few staff, what should we go to? And Carrot Top wasn't overly high on the top list, weirdly
Mate,
enough.
I went to King Tut's little exhibition that's just outside the door to Carrot Top.
Yep.
That was better.
Was it?
And it's literally just walking through, history about King Tut.
Yeah.
So there you
Titanic
have it.
stuff was good gear in there too.
I didn't go into that. I was
Neither did
looking
I, but I
at.
assume it was better.
Yeah, look, it had a lot of people in the Titanic stuff. But anyway, I tell you a ship that's not sinking. It's the Bulldogs.
Oh, smooth.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, look, great performance. I did enjoy Crichton versus the Dragons winger to his Pelotu. That was a bit of fun. There, bit of yapping back and forth.
Gutho was trying to get him out of there, wasn't he?
Yeah, oh, mate, did his
down.
best. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So, look, great stuff for the Dogs. Oh, also, I want to give a shout out to Max King, a guy that just, we always wrap this Bulldogs forwards about, look, they've changed this and they're playing a new style and they're doing this line speed. Max King's the centre of it, and he doesn't get enough props for it, in my opinion.
Yep.
So, yeah, just want to give him a bit of a shout out. So, look, great win for the Doggies and exactly what they needed. Really, really what they needed. All right, on to the Dragons. I'm probably not as high on the Dragons as you guys. I was quite disappointed with the Dragons. I just worry, do they have the cattle to go with top 8 sides? And I know that a lot of people don't have them in the top 8, but there are some people that reckon they're going to be, hanging around that 8 to 10 mark. I just in the middle there, I just think they struggle. They really struggle to get into that grind and win that battle. It's round 1, so there's plenty more. Look, it wasn't dire. I'm not sitting here saying it's panic stations or anything like that, but me personally, I was a little bit disappointed with the Dragons, but I did pick the Dragons, so maybe that's why.
I've got them in that sort of 8 to 10 range. I'm feeling okay about it. On the weekend wasn't fantastic, but you've got to remember as well, they debuted Hamish Stewart, came off the bench. Ryan Couchman did his ACL. Jack DeBellin had a HIA at a really key moment there. I also thought, which I can't really make sense of, but I'm really surprised that they just let Damien Cook play 60 minutes and then they put Jacob Little on. I had Jamie Soward on the show last week. He's obviously worked with Flano, and I sort of said it, and Jamie went, Flano won't do that. And I sort of went, really? He goes, nah, that's not what he'll do. And I sort of went, fuck, surely that's what he'll do. And then he had the ACL, then he had the HIA, and I thought, you've got to move Cook into the 13 role here. Surely they didn't. Similar to what we spoke about with the West Tigers situation, it's round 1. Things changed in that game. I just would have thrown him out there.
The positive that I do like, put it this way, if we walked away from that game that first 55 minutes, I would have been going, mate, this is going to be a disaster season. They did play some really bloody good footy in that last 25 minutes. Quick through the ruck, just advantage line kind of footy. I will say, Moses Sully looks incredible. Incredible. Mm-hmm. I think he is, Timmy, you can speak on him more because you're a big fan, but I thought he looked amazing.
Yeah, I'm so annoyed for Moses Sully, the big one in Supercoach chats in the preseason, but he just hardly got any ball on the left edge last year, and now this year he's moved to the right to accommodate Val Holmes on the left, and they just look like they're going to be left edge dominant. Yeah. So I don't think, once again, he's probably going to get the opportunities in attack that I know that if he got more opportunities, he's such a devastating runner, he would just make a fist of, and I think he would be scoring tries and setting them up. It's more just lay it to that right, so now it looks like, and then that swing back to the left. He's just so good. He made some great defensive plays in this one as well. Huge. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the comp, Moses Sully.
Mate, he's so good. He's so bloody good. If you had said, if you name the top 15 centres, I reckon a lot of people would literally not even have Sully in there. Which is insane to me.
Yeah, without it, I think a lot of people.
He's just so good. I will say, in the Dragons, a real big positive. Their set plays, off penalties, scrums, I was actually shocked at how easily they carved the Bulldogs up. The amount of times they got on the outside and, what's his name, the young fella, Finai was, too far behind or too far in front. That's where I was like, wow, like the Dragons set plays, that's some of the best I've seen in a long time. Like they were stripping the Bulldogs just like that, easy. So that's something that is good. It's just when they're in the flow of things, and Flano and Lockie Ellis, and granted it's a new pairing, so it's round one, but they just struggled to kind of click when they were in flow of things. But off a set play, they were bloody good.
If Sully was, sorry to circle back to him,
That's
but
right.
if he ended up on like a more attacking edge that got more ball at a lot of clubs in the competition, honestly, even if he was playing left edge at the Dragons this year, and maybe that'll change and the right gets more ball, I reckon he'd be centre of the year. I reckon he could do it and he'd get a lot more plaudits for what he does.
I'll go as far to say, let's say there was a million injuries for New South Wales. If I was a coach, I would be confident putting Moses Sully in Origin.
Defensive beast in the Origin arena.
Yeah.
I think he'd be fantastic. But all that being said, the Dragons left edge, it was lethal. Granted, a lot of it came late in the game. Maybe the Dogs had taken the foot off the gas a bit, but you got to remember, like I'm hyper aware of just new combinations early. We mentioned it with the Tigers and a few other clubs already. 3 of their 4 spine members are new faces. And then you add into it the person who's still there in Kyle Flanagan. He played second fiddle to Ben Hunt last year. So it's going to take him a bit of time. But for the left edge to move as swiftly as it does this early into those new combinations, I think it's a good sign.
Yeah. I like as I said, off those set plays. But I'm just looking at these forwards here, for example. So Couchman, 119 metres. Cookie, 27. Emre Gula, 59. Lucia Leilua, 60. Sewer, 98. DeBellin, 130, which is pretty good. Little, 94, which is outstanding. Couchman, 17. Faitala Mara, 53. Hamish Stewart, 42. Like, there's just... There is punch there. Like Leilua and Sewer, there's friggin' a million bits. But, like, I just reckon... I just worry that are we going to see punch consistently from the forward pack?
Not that it's an excuse, but do we think that like the rapid line speed of the Doggies, do you think that just caught them off guard a little bit? We saw it last year, so it's not an excuse, but maybe that was it because they did look a little bit flat through the middle.
Yeah, round one maybe. Maybe it was just purely the Doggies, they just weren't ready for it. And if they were to play that game again, they would probably set some things up around the ruck to...
I think that's it. Like if the Doggies are just going to be this ultra aggressive line speed, which I'm sure they probably will, they're very fit. I think that's where oppositions, they've got to adapt a little bit and throw that shape around the ruck and throw that like, you go one off to a front rower, then he plays out the back and then they hit the edges quickly.
Yep.
And that's one way of like sort of mitigating the impact of that line speed. Because
Storm do it so well.
The Storm do it brilliantly. I think that's probably the way that you maybe come up against the Doggies, and that just means that their entire line speed have to be working, and then that can tire them out and almost work against them. So we'll see.
Yeah. With the Dragons, I got a lot of heart out of that like last 20 though. That's when I was like, oh, okay, like it's not going to be a complete disaster. But that first 60, I was a bit like, oh shit. Tui Pelotu, outstanding game. Jeez, it's just he was at. I was always rated him at Manly. I really did. He comes to Dragons, killed it last year. Played outstanding. 17 runs, 174 metres, 31 post contact, three line breaks, 3 tries. And he's going to be one of those players that if you're a Dragons fan, you'll probably love him to death. If you're playing against him, he's niggle, he chats, he's in your face, you're probably going to dislike him. But look, it's entertaining, I'll give him that. He is entertaining, and he had a bloody good game.
Yeah, he did. 3 tries, and I commend Flano for that decision. I think it was the right one to pick him there. Finau obviously scored 7 tries in 2 weeks or something outrageous in trials, but I think that he is, in my opinion, the best winger at the club. So I think it was a really good decision.
See, it's the other wing, Fainai, that had a bit of a Barry, and I think he'll be under pressure for that spot.
I think Finau, I'm just double checking now, but I know he wasn't named in Cup. He had that concussion in the Charity Shield, so I think he wasn't available.
No, he did play in Cup. I didn't realise that too. I only looked now. He did
It's
play
been
in
2
Cup.
weeks since he did that.
Oh, he did too.
Yeah, so...
Because I could be wrong. I'm sure. Yeah, he wasn't named.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So just on that, Sloan, he obviously scored 2 tries playing on the wing, but Cody Ramsey, very impressive in reserve grade.
What a bloody good story that is.
Unreal, yeah.
Like, to come back into reserve grade and play that well, like, I know as NRL fans, we focus so much on the NRL and we almost, like, dismiss reserve grade. Like, it is not easy to play well in reserve grade. Like, reserve grade is a high standard rugby league with NRL players in it. For him to come back in and kill it straight away, just massive shout out to Ramsey. Like, what an incredible journey about resilience, about sticking to it. Like, we're not just talking about not getting selected for a team. We're talking about getting a disease or a sickness that, I mean, that's way beyond rugby league. That's your life. And he's had the mental toughness to just hang in there, and who knows, he could end up playing NRL again. And you know, the Dragons for keeping on board, and it's just a good feel-good story for everyone involved, in my opinion.
Before we move off that Dragons World Cup, they had a back row that scored a try. So Jacob Halangahu, who's been an absolute prodigy coming through the junior grades. 1 try, 12 runs, 152 metres, 67 post contact. One to really keep an eye on. I reckon he'll make a debut soon for the Dragons.
Sweet. And we forgot as well, Beaks Bag. Don't forget Beaks Bag, guys. Leave a question in the comment section. And each week we will choose one question and we'll give you a $50 Bloke gift voucher if we choose your question. You can leave it. Make sure to leave it either on Spotify or YouTube. And also make sure to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. And like the video. It's really, really helping us, guys. Thank you so much. Anything else on the Dragons, boys?
All good, mate.
All good?
Yep, all
I
good.
was even though he ended up playing really, really well, it did take Valentine Holmes quite a while to get in the game. I think he needs to just fight his way into the game as quickly as possible.
On the other side of the coin, does it shock you that Val Holmes shows up under Flano and first game 0 missed tackles?
Yeah, so true. So true. But yeah, look, not too bad. There's something to work on there. A little bit disappointing from my perspective, but that last 20 gives me hope for the Dragons this year.
Just wish Ryan Couchman all the best to ACL. So fucking shit.
Okay.
And like for a forward pack that's already, you know, not the most depth.
Yep.
It's the last thing they needed. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, as quick as possible, you know.
Yeah. I just had a quick shout out to Toby Couchman, who went 70 minutes
Yep.
in the middle, 47 tackles with 2 misses, ran for 119 metres. That was a big shift in the middle.
Especially for a rookie, you know, like you got all these other guys that have played a million games, and the rookie comes out and does a shift like that. That's bloody good. Bloody good. Just looking at here, 92.16% tackle efficiency in the middle. That's not bad at all.
I suppose when you said before, mate, you're just worried about their middles. I was thinking in my head, I was like, fuck, it's not really something we addressed in the preseason as a problem. But when you think about that, Molo's not playing. He refuses to pick Blake Lowry. Michael Molo's also in reserve grade now. Like it's three middles that I probably would have had in my best 17 a few months ago that aren't in the side.
Yeah, look, Flano is a master at just making it work, so he probably will make it work, but it's just that punch through the middle I'm a bit... Yeah. When I look at some of these other fringe 8 sides, their middle, like, you know, I look at, for example, a guy like Terrell May. I know that the Tigers, you know, struggled, but they've got a guy like Terrell May in the middle there, like Royce Hunt. Like these are high impact like players that can really move the needle. And I look at the Dragons and like you've either got rookies that need to build into their game. Look, their back row has punch for sure, like Sewer and Leilua. It's just a matter of consistently each week doing it. Yeah. But we'll see. Definitely not panic stations at all for the Dragons. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe. Really does help the show. Alrighty, on to the next game, Manly v. the Cowboys. I reckon if Seabold went to sleep and had a dream about the perfect game of his rugby league...
Sorry.
It's very uncalled for. Very uncouth there. So the time Seabold went to sleep in McDonald's, I reckon he was dreaming of this game. Because I reckon Manly played the best ever version of what Seabold would try to put together. Like, I reckon that is truly what type of rugby league he has always wanted to play with the team he's been given. And so, yeah, I reckon he was dreaming about that in McDonald's.
Yeah. For me, it was almost the game I was dreaming of too, because I had Manly minus 6.5, Hamole any time, which he scored in the 3rd minute, and I was hanging out on turbo like everyone else. Can you believe that? The $1.50 shot.
It was like trying not to try. Trying not to score.
But that aside, they were very impressive.
Oh, mate, they were incredible. But yeah, like I just think that we witnessed Manly play the perfect vision of what Seabold's vision is. They were unbelievable, side to side as much as they wanted to, but then they had Paseka straightening things up when they needed him to. They had DC with the ball on an absolute string. Hamole just a wrecking ball. It was almost the perfect game from Manly, maybe aside from, I don't know, last 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, but it was almost the perfect game. Seriously, they were outstanding.
Yeah, they were. And when you look at this squad on paper, these are like they're going to do this plenty of times this year. And I don't know, I'll probably sound like a bit negative here, but I look at Manly and I look at Cronulla, and I know what they can do to 14 teams in this competition. It's just are they going to be able to do this against the Melbourne Storm, the Penrith Panthers, those sort of sides? That's the only question I've got around those two teams.
They did beat Penrith and they did beat the Roosters. I think they beat Melbourne Storm last year as well.
They beat them all.
Yeah. So it has happened.
Beating them when it counts, though, is the difference. And I know, I'm being a bit negative, but like we're here to win comps, and that's why I look at Manly. I look at the squad they've got, and they have to be able to do it and peak at the right time. Which is, I think if you have a look at Manly's draw, they've got about 5 weeks coming up in about 4 weeks where they play Melbourne, Cronulla. I think they might play Penrith twice or something. I think that'll be a really good gauge on the Manly Seagulls or where they're at. Because I have no doubt they're going to blow teams out for the next 4 weeks. They're going to look sensational. That's the sort of footy side they are. You just want to see it against those top sides.
Yeah, I'm with you, but they couldn't do much more than what
As
they
I
did.
said, you can only play who's in front of you. I get that. But I look at them like the Sharks and I'll give them raps every single week when they beat up on teams because they're better than the vast majority of sides. I just want to see them go to that next step this year.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I'm on board. I'm not a hater like Lou. I mean, I was on board with him before the preseason, so to see them come out and do it, 42-0 after 56 minutes.
Is a toweling.
And I think, to Rue's point, I probably looked at him in terms of, right, can they beat the best when it matters at the end of the year? And a bit like probably the Sharks in recent years prior to the signing of Adam Fanua-Blake, it's gone, all right, are they just one gun forward short of beating these teams? And look, maybe they still are. And there hasn't been a massive change in personnel, but I do look at 3 players who there. Toa Sipley and Taniela Paseka. Granted, it's one game. It's the Cowboys pack that wasn't the best.
And Paseka's been pretty good for a whole year.
Paseka has.
Yeah.
I thought Sipley looked fantastic. And then you add in Siwa Takiaho, who's such an interesting case because he's 33 years old. He played 10 games in 2 years for the Catalans in the Super League. He looked really good as well, only a short stint, but they don't necessarily need big minutes out of him. If he can get anything close to sort of what we've seen him in the past at the Roosters, your middles all of a sudden just look that little bit different. I also think, again, we've spoken about it, but the way they play their footy, they're not as reliant on the middles. They go side to side, they use the ball, and they get a lot of yardage doing that. So, yeah, I love what I saw earlier, and I think if Tom Trbojevic stays fit for the season, I think he could walk in a Dally M medal, and I think they can at least be in the hunt for a premiership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made a prelim last year with Tommy injured for the final series. I really think they could not have done much. They could not have done much more to show that they're the best versions of themselves. Yep, I agree with you, Root. Can they do it in finals footy against the best teams in the competition? We'll see, but I won't hold it against them if they can't because, I don't think their squad is as good as Penrith or Storm.
No, for sure. And I'm not holding it against them. All I'm saying is they're going to do this to so many teams. And I'm not going to sit here for the next 27 weeks and just give it all positive about all these guys because I know they're going to kill it every week. It's just, all I'm saying is that I want to see if they're able to do it against those top sides and take them to that next level. Because seeing that they're able to do this at home against the Cowboys, are any of us surprised?
I mean, I didn't think they would win 42-12.
Are you surprised that Manly have got this in them though?
Against the Cowboys to just am I surprised that they have it in them? It's one thing to say, am I surprised, but it's a really good game. They've played really, really well. It's like saying, if Penrith come out and beat Cowboys 42-12, we'd all be sitting here going, holy shit, Penrith Panthers are so dominant. We would, but we wouldn't be sitting here going, I just want to see what they do at the end of the year. They can beat the Cowboys. And I just think
that's because I know what Penrith are going to do at the end of the year. I know what they're capable of. They've proven it. Manly haven't for me yet.
Yeah, but they can only play what's in front of them. I agree with you.
And I open with that. I'm stressing that at the start. I just I think me sitting down the camera telling you guys these guys played really well. They won 42-12. People at home know they played well. I'm just telling you what my long-term thoughts are on the Manly Seagulls.
What do you reckon, Hammy?
I'm not surprised here. I had them 13 plus in face of music, but I will say I think they're going to be very tough to beat, particularly at home this year a lot, because that thing's selling out every week now, and it's just an absolute.
There's a vibe around it, isn't there?
There is a massive vibe there, which is awesome to watch when you're a neutral. A little bit tough when you're an away fan, but I think they did look very impressive. I feel like they're better set up this time. Touch wood. Hopefully Tommy go every year. It's they can challenge if Tommy's fit. But if let's say something happens, and I hope it doesn't, because I want to see Tom Trbojevic fit. I want to see him challenge for another Dally M and lead him to have a charge at the premiership. But if he does go down, they've now got like a guy like Lehigh in the team who potentially can go back there, and I still think they can be a threat to the toughest teams in the comp. From that perspective, I was really impressed with their forwards, because last year maybe that was a little bit of a question mark around them. But I thought guys like, Paseka, Takiaho and Sipley were all outstanding. Those guys went to another level, which I was potentially a little bit surprised to see, because we know all the flair and stuff that they got in the back line and all that sort of stuff, but I thought they looked a lot more well-rounded, and everyone really, got stuck in this week compared to, that was probably the surprise for me. The forward pack looked a lot more damaging across the board in this game.
Yeah, they played bloody well. Now, onto some individual performances. We've already spoken quite a bit about DC. I will say, it is crazy. Who do you reckon the smallest bloke on the field is? You reckon Lehigh?
Lehigh, yeah.
Most metres, 223 metres. That's insane.
Mate, that aerial attack that was...
People don't understand how hard that is.
Fuck. We said it over the last few weeks. I think we all agree that he genuinely could be one of the best players in the competition over the next
Seriously
few
could.
seasons. And the stuff he's capable of doing is just ridiculous.
To catch the ball, turn your body, and then offload it before you've hit the ground, whilst also you're in contact, that is almost impossible to do. It's hard enough just catching the ball whilst running at full pace. He's turned his body whilst running at full pace, whilst offloading the ball, landing in the This kid is absolutely special. And what's insane, he's not even doing it in his best position. And also, he hasn't even filled out yet. He literally can get way more muscular across legs and the upper body. He's already strong. Imagine once he hits 24, 25 years old, he's just going to be a problem. And the scary thing is I think his ball playing is already pretty good. Is it Scotty Drinkwater level yet? Not yet, but I think that he has the talent to potentially get to that level, ball playing specifically. His ball running is already pretty much there, if not better. He's just special. He is just special.
I love to see Luke Brooks playing both sides of the ruck too, just popping up on the right-hand side. I think it can add another dimension to their attack this year.
Because you've got to worry about him there.
100%.
Whereas before you just had to go, where's DCE? And I'll just worry about that. And so it's just, outside of the last 10 minutes, then second half they might have taken their foot off the pedal, but it is what it is. It's round one footy. They really could not have done much more. They were so bloody good, and just the style of rugby league they played, just that back and forth. But Lehigh Hopewadi, we are looking at a very special talent. His highlight reel over such a small period of time would be friggin' unbelievable. He could quit now and have a full career of friggin' highlight reel. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, Hamole Olakwatu for me. I know we sort of touched on him earlier in the show, but
wow.
He set up a try for Tommy. I think he slid out the back and might have hit Tommy Turbo, who then tipped on to Jason Saab. And it was, not to say he hasn't sort of played that shape before, but it reminds me a little bit of a few seasons ago now, maybe 3, where Penrith, I'm sure it's Penrith with Kickow, started getting him sliding out the back of the lead runner and being used as the ball player. And I just went, fire, you're one of the most devastating ball runs in the game, who's now added this ball play into his game. I just saw that with Olakwatu as well, who's added another string to his bow. He's already one of the most well-rounded players in the competition, certainly back rowers. But to see him just sliding out and using his ball playing a bit as well, because he was always sort of a hard line runner, they'd often just DCE and still will, just give him early ball and just go, mate, just do your damage. But for him to do that, he slid out the back another time. We mentioned it earlier, but got one-on-one with Purdue. It was never stood a chance, the poor bloke. Olakwatu is in for a huge year.
Yeah, the scary thing is that the positive for the Manly Seagulls, and granted, you always want to have Tommy there at the back, but pre-Hamole hitting the level he's hitting, it was really relying on Turbo creating momentum and speed and space. Now, DCE just goes, Bob, Hamole, get me some momentum. It's like Kickow with his years at Penrith. They would literally just give him to Kickow if they were ever under the pump, and he would just go, boom, momentum, and all of a sudden they would just find meters or find space and tries after it. And the problem is as you just said, so the first time they get down there, he goes out the back and hits that centre and scores. The second time, literally the second time they get down there, they know that they're going to have to spot him and target him and make sure they plant their feet because they're so worried about getting bumped. So he just goes, I'll just play out the back. So all of a sudden, you've got this guy that you have to mark up no matter what. You can never slide off on him because if you do, he will absolutely tear you apart. he can also ball play now. It is just like
And
a
then
scary
there was
prospect.
even one there where I think it was Daly Cherry Evans' try where, well, I think it was a bit of second phase play and whatnot, and it was a bit scattered. But they end up being back out on the right edge, and Cherry Evans, who probably shouldn't have had the space to dive over and score the way he did, they're all just looking at Olakwatu going, if he finds Olakwatu, well, he's going to run over us again. So
Yeah.
Ches went, dummy, thanks for coming.
Yeah, and that's the scary prospect about Olakwatu is like he has everything in his game now. Like his defense is good, he's got good hands, he's fit, and he's absolutely terrorising defense every time he runs the
And
ball.
he's got work rate.
Yeah.
Like, he's got it all.
Good attitude. He's a leader now. He's a part of the leadership. He's a vice captain, I'm pretty sure, or at the very least in the leadership group. Like, he genuinely might end up to be the captain of the club. But granted, I assume Tommy Turbo will get it probably first. But, like, who knows? Like, Hamolo could end up with the captaincy because he's become such a leader.
He
and he
did all
deserves it.
that and had 20 tackles and didn't miss one. Like,
Yeah.
Just a special talent.
Tell you what, just like coming off round 1 and having a look at performances, how impressive Manly were. Melbourne Storm, round 5, 4 p.m. at Four Pines Park. over there.
Oh, that'll be spiteful.
That is
too.
going to be a cracker.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Melbourne Storm versus Manly.
That's their 3rd game in a row at home too.
Wow.
That place is going to be pumping over the next few weeks.
They've got to try to stack their points up early, I reckon, Manly, because they're probably going to have a lean run home, like as in not many home games, I'd assume, if they've got this many home games early, or at least at some period during the season. I will say, I reckon Olakwatu is a really good guy for Nanai to look across at and go, I probably need to really look at what Olakwatu did in his game. Granted, they are different body shapes. Like Nanai's probably not as big. You know, I mean, he's nearly as big. But it's just that consistency because Hamole started similar to Nanai where like there were games where we kind of drop in and out of and defensively, and he's just built and built and built. And I think Nanai, granted, he's still like 22 or something like that, still super young. He could probably look across and go, you know what, that's probably where I should end up in a couple of years or so, or even this year, because they both have similar talent levels. But outside of that, in regards to like good performances, we've already spoken about him a bit, but I thought Paseka was outstanding. Really, really good. And Paseka has always had the ability to be a top-tier front rower. And I felt last year he took a step towards being a top-tier front rower. And if he just keeps building on last year, there's no reason why he can't be one of the more damaging front rowers in the competition, in my opinion.
Really good start to the season, wasn't it, for him?
Outstanding.
I think he picked up an injury in the trials, did he? A few weeks ago, and there was a little bit of concern around him. No signs of that over the weekend.
Looked outstanding. Saab, 5 line breaks. He's just like... His ability to just, break the line or, create space, speed, try assists, tries himself. Like, he really is. Although he's not the build of an old school winger because he's so big, he is like an old school winger where it's like, yeah, you want him to come in and take hit-ups, but at the end of the day, he's there just to put points on. Like, he will put points on if you just give him an inch of space.
And like, he just suits Manly perfectly, right? They don't necessarily have the best pack in the NRL. It's solid, but if they win a comp, it's probably not going to be due to forward dominance. They use the ball, they look to strip numbers, and you get an inch of space. And the bloke runs the 100 in 10.5 flat. Like,
so quick.
He's there to... What Manly do so well is, sure, they create these attacking opportunities, but we mentioned the Knights who did it as well against the Tigers and couldn't capitalise. Manly make you pay every single time because let's say it's a Saab or a Lehigh Hopewada who make that break down the edge. Kohler in support, Garrick in support, Tom Trebojevic in support, Daly Cherry Evans also a fantastic support player. When they go through, there are bodies that just stack up in support and they finish it more often than not.
Yeah, that back line is just electric, absolutely electric. You've got Kohler still sitting out there who was also just as quick as him. So a bloody good game for Manly. And I just think that, Brooksy had 164 run meters. Wow, I did not know that. Isn't it just been a perfect spot for Brooks?
Yes.
Just like out of the spotlight.
Yep. Don't worry about managing everyone.
Yep.
Just get the ball, run, play
Yep.
what you see. You got the guy there doing the probably one of the best game managers in the game. But yeah, it's been the perfect kind of balance for
Playing
for-
to his strengths.
You're correct for their team.
You know what's insane? He had more kicking meters than DCE. Which just, again, that's exactly where you want Brooksy to be. Just flying under the radar. No pressure. Just getting through your work. Because he had 9 kicks and DC had 9 kicks. DC had 234 kick meters and Brooksy had 336. So literally 100 more meters, the same amount of kicks. Like that's heaven if you're Manly because you're sitting there going, we got 2 halves that, like DC obviously a much better kicking game, but 2 halves that can kick quite well. if there's ever pressure on DC, Brooksy can just step up. So great stuff. I think Tokiaho, because Nathan Brown is injured, is he?
Yeah, he must be.
He must be, yeah.
Pretty sure he's injured. Jazz Tavanga coming in, playing hooker for a bit, did all right.
Did Takiaho pick up an injury in this? I think he played the 22 minutes.
I'm not sure. Not sure.
I think he might have had. Yeah, he did, yeah.
Jazz Tavanga at 9, got the job done. Fuck,
Got the job done.
not bad at all. Not bad at all.
What about my man Ethan Bullymore as well? Unbelievable off the bench. Another meat pie, 140 odd metres. I just think they've got such a well-rounded forward pack with a lot of depth now. And again, going back to last year, great backline, great halves, forward pack. A few people need to step up. But I just think they've really got all the ingredients there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, on to the Cowboys. Ouch. There is not much to say about this game for the Cowboys, unfortunately. It's round 1. They're almost in a bit of a similar situation to the Roosters. Granted, they haven't had the rosters as strong in previous years, and they've gone probably a little bit better than the Roosters in previous years. But, this was, I wouldn't say a disaster because it's round 1, but it can't get much worse for a round 1 performance with a side that has decent players in it. With guys like Reece Robson, you got Dearden, you got Scotty Drinkwater, you got Nanai, you got Cotter. There is still Talangi. There is still some really good players in this side. I think Peyton is always been really strange because last year when they went on that losing streak and they were struggling, there's, maybe there's a bit of pressure. There was actually reports, okay, there's pressure. And then all of a sudden they go on a run. He's all good. But I do think that this year there is probably going to be a bit of pressure on Peyton because they just didn't respond to him this game.
And they just ran out in this one. They got punched in the face and they just never recovered. And it's the NRL. It's going to happen, but they just weren't able to regroup themselves in any way, shape, or form.
You're right. They just blown off the park early, and I feel like they got the roster to hang in battles and that. They just looked, I don't know. So I don't know where Peyton goes. How does he get a response from? He said he asked them the question. They need to, answer that question themselves. But I think he's under a bit of pressure. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, pretty ordinary. And 42-12, they scored 2 tries very late on in the piece as well to, get them on the board. And a lot of concerns there at the Cowboys. Defensively, very, very poor. And, round 1, sometimes you can just go, boys, we didn't come out of the box. We started slow. You put a line through it and you go, we move on. But, they completed at 85%.
I know.
And it still ended up 42-12. For us, the starting 17 of the Cowboys, as you alluded to, Campy, it's still a pretty strong side. But to come out and have 85% completion and get that done to you, it's ordinary.
They just look flat. Yeah. They look so flat. And so, did they have, what's their training like? Was their preseason too big? Was it too little? Are they unfit? I don't know. But I guess the frustrating thing, for Cowboys fans is everyone has known for quite a few years now, defence is their biggest issue. And they've come into a new year and struggling.
And what's more concerning is, and I'm almost certain these players will bounce back because they're too good not to, but it was defensive issues among their best players. So Tommy did and cut him a bit of slack. He had Olaquara to run that in, so that's a nightmare. But even Reece Robson missed 2 tackles that I think both led to tries, or one led to a try and one might have been a try, the one later. One was the one on Tommy Turbo, which was where he went straight through the middle of the field, one off the ruck, off a normal play, the ball speed, went through Nanai and Robson, just inexcusable. There was another one on I think might have been the Toll Sipley try, where I said Robson's good enough that he'll bounce back, but when it's happening to your key players and your better defenders, it's it's a concern.
Well, the worrying thing now is teams are going to look at this and go, oh, we actually can target Dearden, and granted they don't have Olaquara bloody on their edge, but I struggle to take many positives. Braden Burns ran for a bunch of metres, that's really good to see, but it just really isn't, because as you said to me, they completed relatively well, so it's not like they just kept dropping the ball and that just to put him in the game. They look flat. They look
dumb errors, turning over possession. Yeah, okay, it was just a shocker. That didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It was just genuinely they just got blown off the park.
I'm hoping we look back in 2 or 3 weeks and how they just got sucked into the black hole that is Brookvale Oval. A lot of teams
which could happen.
Which could happen, but I agree with everything you both said. I'm a lot more nervous than that.
And I look at the Cowboys, though. If there is a team that could, in 4 weeks, all of a sudden be the best attacking side in the competition and they're just winning with their attack, that it is the Cowboys. I can see that happening.
They could lose the first 6 in a row, then win their next 6.
Yeah.
That's just the Cows, right?
At the moment. And I guess that's also, it's the biggest plus that they can bounce back as well as they do. But at the same time, again, defence continues to be their issue. Like, I'm sure Peyton, if he had hair, he'd be pulling it out because he's going. I'm sure surely he spends a lot of his preseason on defence. Don't you all agree? Surely he does.
It's a big, part of the game that they've been probably need to improve. So yeah, you'd imagine so.
And so he's probably like, how do I get these guys to either buy in or is the system right or whatever? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. They play the Sharkies 2 weeks to prepare, into the Broncos, Raiders, Panthers, South Sydney. Tough draw. A couple of very big games there with a couple of teams that like to score points, especially the next 2. Like, if they don't get that sorted, Sharks into Broncos the next 2 weeks, like they could have 120 points against them in the first 3 weeks. If those 3 teams light it up, and what we saw on the weekend is what they're going to be like in defence, it could get ugly. It might be the 3 last teams you want to play realistically.
They're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot. I've got to give Dearden credit for his toughness. Like, at no point, so he spent the whole first half just getting ran at by Olakau'atu, and then because he tried to shot Olakau'atu, he got bumped into next week. Like, the bravery to do that after you've just been ran over for a half of footy, it just shows you why he's one of the best players in the NRL, in my opinion. Yes, you can look at the fact that he missed these tackles or whatever, and that's where they were going, but at the end of the day, the ticker he showed was like, as good as you can get.
Put it this way, the amount of times, and this comes back to the blokes that were inside him as well, that Manly were able to isolate Olakau'atu on Tommy Dearden, there's not probably a half in the competition who's making that tackle one-on-one with Olakau'atu with full steam.
Well, the direction should be going out. Don't give DCE time to isolate him. I want DCE getting jammed as soon as he touches the ball. Yes, you can leak more points because if you miss that tackle, they go back inside or whatever. But I just felt like they failed to adjust all game. They just allowed DCE just to go, sweet, heaps of time.
I think they were just on the back foot the whole time. I don't know if they could have adjusted. They were just...
Yeah, I just feel like there were times where they were coming off their own line and, you just tell your 4 defender, mate, sprint at DCE. Just sprint at him.
Yeah.
Take him off his game.
I know I'm probably quite critical of him, but it's because I hold him in such high regard, as a rep footballer. But like Jeremiah and I boys, 58 minutes, 2 runs for 16 metres and defensively just wasn't there. Like, it's a similar storyline every year with him.
Yeah, it's tough. It is really, really tough. Because, didn't they move him sides as well?
Yep, swap sides.
And so what do you reckon that was like? Do you reckon it was to help? Was it to put Bateman with the rookie, Duffy? Do you think? Defensively?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they looked at that. That's probably a fair call. Maybe they looked and went, look, we don't really want Nanai and Duffy there on debut defending together.
Whereas Nanai and Dearden sounds like a much stronger edge together potentially. Because, Bateman did make, I think it was like 44 tackles, 4 miss, which is okay on an edge. Okay. Nanai was 23, 3 miss, but anyway.
I thought in a shit fight, geez, Duffy defended well, I thought.
Yeah, he did his best. Seriously, 25 tackles, only 1 miss.
Yeah,
96,
in that game,
and 96.15 tackle efficiency. Like at a half, that's bloody outstanding.
Imagine that being your debut and like you're expecting first grade to be fast, but then you get out there and it's 18-0 after 10. You just go, what has happened here?
There are a few poor old blokes who had like their debuts this weekend, and it was just like Riley Smith for the Eels coming onto the field in that game, like Tom Duffy in that game. There was another one in there in a blowout in the Roosters. Rob Toya just going like, what a debut.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Cleary debut in Melbourne, 40 tackles. Just going, what the fuck is going on here? He'll learn from that Duffy. And yeah, it's just like even looking at Cotter. Ruben Cotter, 58 metres. Like they were just they just could not make metres, which is, I wonder that's just, I'm just trying to look at the team stats of possession. Like 57% possession that's probably the reason why, to a degree. Also, is it Manly because they spread it a lot? Their front row has a lot of energy in defence, similar to what Penrith do, where they, kind of make their outside backs make a lot of meters and then use their line speed. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Tough as well for them, obviously, with everything going on in Queensland. None of the reserve grade teams played in the Q Cup this week. So your next fringe down guys didn't even get to play a game to show what they can do to maybe come into that side.
Yeah. Shout out to Cohen Hess, in a team that was in 29 minutes. He actually ran for 129 metres in a team that was well beaten. It's pretty good for in the middle.
Come
Pretty
back
good.
from that lengthy layoff as well.
Yeah,
Good
so
sign.
hopefully they can move him maybe into a starting role if he continues to play this well.
I thought Sam McIntyre was probably best in that forward pack.
Yeah. Worked his
Almost got
backs.
to 100 metres, but I think how many tackles did he get through? 36, none missed.
None
a good
missed.
little knock there.
97% tackle efficiency. Look, if I'm the coach, I'm just going, boys, men in black, delete that from your mind. Just forget it.
Pick the same 17 next week.
Yeah, just go again and just round one footy. We got blown off the park by a red-hot Manly side at home that plays a very unique style of footy that's hard to prepare for, and just go again,
Yeah, back at home next week.
which will be huge.
One thing I thought was interesting, which I don't know if you'll care, Kempy, but I found it odd from a Supercoach point of view. Tom Duffy kicked the first goal, and Scott Drinkwater kicked the second one. What do you read into that? Give us your expert analysis.
Mate, you got to pay for that. I don't know why you keep trying to get freebies out of it. It's unbelievable. Jeez Louise. Maybe they're NRL fantasy players and they just hate Supercoach or something.
That'll work.
And lose
Was it edges? Was it edges?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's
'Cause
what I
they-
thought in the trial, but it
Because
wasn't
they
that.
did,
so.
did same in trial, like where they both kicked.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
Interesting.
going on.
Was it because they're left and right?
Well, I think Drinky
Footed?
scored under the post, didn't he?
Drinky scored under the sticks, and Duffy kicked it, and then the other one was, who was the other try scorer?
Burns.
It was on the right-hand side. And
Yeah, so
Drinky-
maybe on the edges they make Drinky kick and then in the middle they'll make...
Didn't in the trial, though. Once again, they did the same thing. It's weird. I don't know.
So
Big
weird.
wash.
Big watch, yeah.
More to come.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Alrighty. This next game is brought to you by Bloke Undies. Head to bloke.shop, grab your Bloke Undies, and there'll be discounts on the Bloke Club for Bloke Undies. Go to bloke.club, join. It's completely free. And the grand prize in 4 months, thanks to Luke Camilleri, LDC_01. Let me just check that again, sorry. LDC_01, the best car man in the business, Aspley Mazda. He has given us a Mazda BT50. That's a grand prize for anyone that goes. You enter the draw by joining Bloke Club. Plus, in the first month, we're giving away $2,000 cash to one lucky winner. Each month, we give away prizes at the Bloke Club, plus plenty more. So join for free at bloke.club. Alrighty, Storm defeat the Eels 56-16. So after the first half, you're going, oh my God, this is an absolute disaster. And it was still a disaster to a degree. Melbourne Storm look unbelievable. But I think the Eels can take a little bit away from that second half and go, what made me, look, before I heard the press conference from Riles, I was like, fuck, the Eels, that is like a disaster. But hearing Riles off the bat say, we are in a rebuild, it's going to take time, at the very least, it reassures me that they're almost aware that these scores against the best teams could happen. However, it's one thing to say we're in a rebuild. You actually have to do the rebuild. So, although it was a very bad night or day for the Eels, there are some things you can look at and go, okay, they did fight back. They showed a bit of ticker. However, I just think the Melbourne Storm look unfriggin' believable, and them and the Panthers are still the team to beat in the NRL.
Money kicked the ball. I think it was fourth tackle. He went down there. He made the tackle. It was at Marcus screaming at his players. They're up 50-0 or something. Like it's just,
Mate,
it's just relentless.
Their game plan of spin, back row on a halfback, quick play of the ball, front foot footy, it's just unstoppable. Like they just roll teams. Especially like the only team that can really hang with them is Penrith because they're so fit with their line speed and they're so good in contact. But they just spin it and they'll land on a heart. Like the amount of times they worked over that Volkman Kelmer partnership in the first half, Kelmer got moved to the other side. Like
Kelmer got hooked and then they had to put him back on the other side.
That's how much damage they did in like 40 minutes. It is just, it's scary. And Munster playing like that, unbelievable. Timmy?
Yeah. I mean, you could sit here and rip the Eels a new one and call them out for doing this, this and this. But at the end of the day, and it was so evident watching it, you've just got two clubs that are at completely different ends of the spectrum of their bid for a title. You got the Storm, who are premiership favourites. You got Parramatta, who are clearly in a rebuild. So while I'm not going to sugarcoat what Parramatta did, you know, the fact that they came out and somehow won the second half. I know Jerome Hughes went off after 60 minutes, but it shows a bit of ticker there. They were blown away by a substantially better side in the first half. And as for the Melbourne Storm, mate, to come out and do that in round one, like...
Record crowd too at home in round one.
What an awesome afternoon we got down there for the fans. They are just... they're in for such a special year and so enjoyable to watch. And I even look at it and I go... Craig Bellamy, I remember almost feels like about a decade ago now where they were just so robotic and methodical in what they did and block players and all that. Can never criticise him for not changing his tact. And he's done it year after year. We've spoken on this show a lot about it when they got done in the grand final years ago and then they came back and won it the next year. He's willing to adapt each and every year. And even this year, mate, not to Manly's degree, but they were doing a bit of that Manly footy where they were just early spreads coming off their own line, off kickoffs, they were spreading it. They were playing some footy and a little bit more than they did last year. So, as I said earlier with the team of the week, Munster back and firing, Pappenhausen back and firing. It's going to be exciting year watching them play.
And I think maybe the difference between them and Manly is Manly will spread side to side like that, whereas Melbourne Storm, they spread, get a quick play the ball and then stay down that corridor usually, unless they, feel like they've stripped numbers on the long side. It's so hard to defend because as a half, if you've got out the back plays, you just get isolated all the time. I mean, it's similar to what DC was doing. You just get isolated and you're never going to win contact with a back row of Eli Katoa and Bloke. They nail it. And the thing is the reason why teams don't do that is because it's risky to always be passing. You've got to be fit. You've got to have good ball skills. And so you look at this Melbourne Storm side. What I will say as well is Frank Benisi and Craig Bellamy's ability to build into their vision is almost second to none. Their ability to go, all right, we've got this plan and we're going to slowly recruit these players until we hit this peak version of ourselves. And I think that we're in that year right now for the Melbourne Storm. I think that they've been building towards this essentially since Cam Smith retired. And they are now at almost the peak version of this rebuild. Because you look at this squad and every one of these players is just about to come into arguably career best form. Maybe Munster, you could say, is a little bit older now, but outside of that, they're all around either this year or last year in career best form. And that's all vision from the Melbourne Storm. It's crazy.
And even Munster, as I said, maybe he's getting a little old. I think he's at such a delicate point in his career where I think people are sleeping on him more than ever.
I think people have forgotten.
Hungrier more than ever.
I think people have forgotten, because he has been a bit quiet the last couple of years. I think people have forgotten what Cam Munster can do in games. And look, he has been struggling with injuries, but yeah, as I said, you look at this side and they're just ability, the amount of things that can go wrong in developing a squad and they still seem to nail it is just incredible. What do you reckon, Hammy?
I thought they were unbelievable. I thought basically, especially in that first half, they were just about unstoppable, going at basically a point a minute. There's really just no weak links there. I think what you said is spot on. So many guys either at peak or about to hit their peak form. They're going to be so tough to beat this year. I can't really fault any of them. The one that really, we touched on him earlier and he got the nod in the team of the week when there's a few fullbacks around there. I just thought that was as good as I've seen Pappy for a while. Obviously he had a couple of injuries he's had to come back from, but real quick off the mark, just looking, just so many threats everywhere. But I think, him at his peak is a big tick for them and potentially a tilt at a title.
Just so good. I mean, and even Coates didn't make the team of the week, but he was phenomenal. That try he scored. Are you kidding me? Man, just it really does look like Penrith Storm at the moment. With I don't think Broncos. I want to see Broncos beat a top tier side, but I reckon right now the Storm versus Penrith is going to be one of the highest quality games of footy we've ever watched.
Can you just imagine the potential of this season? I agree with you. Melbourne, Penrith at the moment look like the clear two for me, but I think that Cronulla, Manly and Brisbane could enter that category. Imagine if all three do and we get the finals and it's those five. But hopefully you're sitting there going, okay, Penrith come back to the pack a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe Melbourne too, but I doubt it. But if those three can just take a step up this year, it could be one of the best final series we've ever seen.
Yeah.
They're just at such a good level. Obviously, we can read through all these names and everything and find guys with all these fantastic stats. One guy that his stat sheet isn't crazy, but geez, I thought Sean Bloor looked good.
Looked outstanding.
I think he ran for 90 metres. He made 16 tackles, but every time he got the ball, he just looked dynamic. He looks fit. I think he's in for a big year. Confident
in his body. He had so many injuries. That first year he's just working through it, getting through, building that base. Like similar to Eli Katoa, like just built that base in that first year and a half. And now Eli Katoa just fucking...
And it's always the way at Melbourne. You get in there your first year, they put the leash on you, you've got to earn your stripes. I think now Bloor has. I think he's going to be in for a big, big season.
I thought Stefano was really good. I mean, his stats don't, bloody blow you out of the water, but I thought he was good. Line speed was good. He looks fitter than ever, got through his work. Like, they didn't even have Nelson. Like, that's what's crazy.
I'm looking forward to seeing Stefano in the tougher games. This one was a bit of a they were just going side to side and tearing it to bits. Like one of the tougher, harder ones. It was it was a nice little intro for Stefano at the Storm.
It's a perfect way to just put your foot in the water, get used to the Storm system, get used to playing for the club.
It was also a stinking hot day.
Yeah.
34.
Oof. Wow. Let's talk about Howarth. So he came to the club as a centre. I was like, I think his body shape suits more of an edge back rower. They try him there, just doesn't seem to click. He fills in at centre. So he became a back rower, he fills in at centre. And then now all of a sudden, each game he plays at centre, he's arguably one of the best players on the field. And what's so impressive about him is we still haven't seen the best of him. Like he's ran for 249 metres. He had 5 tackle breaks, 55 post contact, 2 line breaks, 2 try assists, 7 tackle breaks. Like it's just they've found a strike centre.
Yeah, and there'll be people at home that'll sit there and say, 249 run meters. Like he had that one long break. He broke 6 tackles on that run.
Yeah.
They couldn't get near him. And okay, let's
He
go
stepped
over.
about
Let's take 70
blokes.
meters off him.
Yeah.
It's still a 180 meter run game.
At centre. Like, he's not a wing that's getting kick returns and that. He's doing it from centre. And also the physicality in his contact. And the run that he made that break, he stepped like 4 or 5 blokes.
Yeah.
So usually a smaller player is doing that. He's a big, big boy. So big we thought he was a back rower. Well, I thought he was a back rower. And so they've found their strike centre now. Now, all of a sudden, you've got Warbrick's strike, Howarth is strike, Coates is strike, and Meaney is a good, solid centre that's going to get through his work. Like, that whole back line now, outside of Meaney, like literally, Hughes, Munster, Coates, Howarth, Warbrick, Pappenhausen, every single one of them can break a game open. Mm-hmm. I mean, and even Meaney can to a degree, but he's more of a all-rounder. Like, that's a scary prospect, whereas, like, you go back only, 2 years ago, we were questioning, like the Melbourne Storm outside backs, it's quite shallow, the depth there, and, they're not as good as yesteryear. Like, all of a sudden you go, I mean, Coates and Warbrick, on their day, can go with any wing battle. Just a scary prospect. Munster looked outstanding. He looked so energised.
Spent heaps of time on that right edge running off Jerome Hughes as well, which he's always roamed enough, but he looked particularly hungry and spent so much time on the other side of the field.
Yeah. And so if you can just find that balance between him and Hughes working their magic, like how do you stop it? How do you stop Pappy, Munster, Hughes, Grant when they're locked in?
I don't know if you do.
You just don't.
Really?
Like it is a stupid spine. Like it has everything. It literally has everything. But yeah, like it's hard to like really pull one person out because they all played so well as a team.
Yeah. Just on Harry Grant, how about his record against the Eels lately? That try that he scored yesterday, that's his 8th try in his last 6 games against the Eels.
Wow. No way.
Yeah.
He hates the Eels.
He does.
Maybe he's still got that West Tigers hatred for the Eels in him.
I think he didn't like what happened in Spoon Bowl last year and he took it out on him on the weekend, or in the last 6 games. So, but yeah, like it's a great record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Who else stood out for you boys?
I mean, like, take your pick. Everyone was amazing. I think we've touched on a lot of the main ones there. Just the whole back line was just unstoppable. Like, they all had exceptional, like, they all ran for over 150 metres. How do you get on top of that? Like, Warbrick as well was good. A couple of a good try there as well. They're all great.
He played a lot less minutes than what he usually would, I think, just because of the way the game played out. But I thought Trent Leroy, his first stint was fantastic. They didn't put him back on until about the last 8 minutes or so because they didn't need to. But his first stint was that's the other thing. Like, they didn't play their 13 for the middle.
Like, Hughes went off and Trent Leroy went off. Like, imagine the luxury in round one to be pulling key players like that.
They pulled Trent off in the first half, at the end of the first half, and then they just didn't put him back on until the last 6 or 7 minutes.
Just crazy. And like, you got guys like Wishart just sitting on the bench ready to go. It's just mental. It's honestly, they're going to play some of the most exciting footy we've ever seen, I reckon, this year. Like, if they stay injury free, we're going to see some of the best footy we've ever seen. Yep. Them against Manly is going to be, if Manly play as well as they can, is going to be just like electric.
Wow.
Cracker.
Absolutely cracker. But yeah, outside of that, like, everyone played well. There really wasn't a single person that didn't kill it. Like, even Meaney ran for 190 metres, Warbrick 187, Coates 156. Just a bloody good game. Bloody good. Josh King got through his work. So, yeah. I mean, we haven't even spoken really about Katoa, but Katoa was electric. Like, literally nearly made my team of the week. That's how good he was. So we're in for a big year from Storm, and Craig Bellamy continues to prove why he is one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
And in any sport. Like, I reckon with the Storm setup, like, yes, you could look at Penrith, and for the last 4 years, it's just like been phenomenal. But there is something to be said for 20 years as an organisation to just essentially be either the best team in the competition or the second best team in the competition. And I think it's one of the greatest ever sporting organisations in the country. And I'd go as far to say as there are bigger leagues overseas, but there are teams that could learn something from the Melbourne Storm, even though it's a much bigger sport and a much bigger league.
It's 100% one of the greatest in the country, and if you said the greatest, I don't know how much you could push back on it.
Could you say they're the All Blacks of rugby league?
I don't think it's unfair.
It's close. It's close.
So dominant for so long.
Yeah, like just the length of dominance. I think that what throws a spanner into works is just this Penrith 4 in a row.
Yes.
It's just like...
And the fact they've never gone back to back.
Yeah, it's just like, well, so bizarre now.
That's me trying to find a negative
against
Melbourne, realistically.
That round 3 against Penrith.
Stop it.
So good.
Stop it.
Is that Melbourne Penrith round 3?
Yeah.
Melbourne off a bye too. That's unreal.
Oh my God. Alrighty, onto the Eels. Yeah, look, if you really could tear this game apart. Like, you can look at things like, for example, their first kick chase, they're offside. Like, are you serious? What are we doing here? We're in the NRL and you're getting offside on a kick chase. So you could really tear the team apart. But it's a mixture of two things. When you just look at the teams on paper and you look how good the Storm played, and you look at the fact that they showed ticker in the second half, I'm willing to give them a break because they are truly, like, when I look at, like, say, the Roosters or the Cowboys, like, yeah, you could argue the Roosters are in a rebuild, but that team is still a solid side. And also they've got the resources to be able to make sure that they're ready for the rebuild. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a new coach. Like, they've got one of the better coaches in the competition. You look at the Cowboys, that side still has a bunch of Origin players in it. Whereas I look at the Eels and really, so Mitchell Mazes didn't obviously play. You've got Dill Brown plays for New Zealand, but, you know, he's not playing Origin currently. You got Lomax, current Origin player. Outside of that, I don't think they've got any other current Origin players. Pretty much just one, Lomax. And it was his first year. And so I'm a bit easy on them because they showed the ticker in the second half. I will say one thing I feel like I definitely did get wrong. I feel like Zach Lomax can be a good centre. I just don't think this team is good enough to afford to have him at centre. I think that you need to put him back on the wing until this team is ready to be able to use him properly at centre, in my opinion. I think that if he was at the Storm or Penrith or even in Origin, you could put him in centre and you would have a team good enough to really utilise him. But I think they should put him back on the wing and just because it forces him to be involved. Like, he has to be in the game all the time. Now, maybe they don't do that immediately. It's round 1. It was against the Melbourne Storm. However, if it stays like this for the first 4 rounds, I would be moving him back to the wing to allow him to just be forced into the game.
Yeah, I think I don't think Volkman used Lomax anywhere near as much as he should have the other day. I really like Volkman. Volkman is a good player, but I thought some of his decisions that he made yesterday, I thought he kicked at the wrong time on a few occasions. I don't think he did himself any favours. Lomax, as far as centre goes, it's It's one game. I think I had a Parramatta the highest out of all you guys for season predictions. Had you told me Moses was going to be out for the first 6 weeks, I genuinely don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I think he's one of the most valuable players in the competition as far as what a team looks like with and without a dude. I think Mitch Moses is number one now. We would have said Turbo for years, but you put Lehigh back there, they'll be okay. I think Mitch is, and Mitch
It's probably a fair shout. Like I'm trying to think of a single 7 that has as much impact as Moses on the side.
Even go wider than 7 if you want. I think player. I don't think there's many guys out there.
I'm just comparing him like for like. I'm just trying to think if Cleary is out, they don't drop off as much as Moses is out. So it's not a bad shout. It really isn't.
And we saw it last year, as you said, like they're offside off their first kick. How does that happen? It happened last year as soon as Mitch went out of the side. Like you take him out and it's just shambles. I'm not saying he changes the team that they win this game of football, but it's like they don't know each other all of a sudden.
Yeah. I will say I felt like it was an incorrect decision, Riles putting Kelmer with Volkman. Because like Kelmer is, in my opinion, not known for great defence. He's an incredible ball runner, great footwork, strong, good line runner. If I'm bringing Volkman in, I'm putting the best defensive edge player I can possibly find right next to Volkman. I thought that was a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think everyone from the couch to playing left centre for the Melbourne Storm knew that was the spot to target.
Yeah, you could see it. You could literally see it, yeah.
And it took 12 minutes until he hooked Kelmer. And then Jack Williams got the HIA, so it forced him to put it back on.
I think Williams is in the middle. I think he should start in the middle with Polo. I think that on the edge, yes, he got through his work. There was one miss that was really bad, but outside of that, he did work hard.
I think what happened was a bit of a shit show. But when he got dragged, and then Jack had his concussion. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain Jack came back on and played through the middle for the majority of it because they had Kelmer and actually had Charlie Geimer playing on the other edge.
Yeah, Geimer played on the other edge.
So Jack, and he made a great line break through the middle, Jack, when he came back.
That's what I mean, though. What I'm saying is start him in the front row.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was just the edges are a huge problem for them, which is funny because 12 months ago we were sitting there and they've got
all these edges.
Sean Lane, Ryan Madison, Bryce Cartwright, Kelmer, another one. They had so many options. Now you're like, where have they all gone? So, seems like Cartwright's on the outer. Ryan Madison was injured leading in, it was a late out with, I think, a back issue, which is a massive blow for them. But you're now sitting there starting. Kelmer, so frustrating Kelmer with Tuolangi because
so much talent.
Even yesterday, he was so good in attack. Just defensively, it's not there. Like, he fell off a tackle early on in the game.
Really
the Storm got all this momentum. Then he had the slip. It was also a poor defensive read for the Pappenhausen try as well. And then he got hooked. It's just like, if you just get a bit better defensively, but it's not there. So now you go, all right, like if Cartwright's on the outer, who will go in there and do a job and can create as well, like what's the back row look like? Because I'm with you. I think Jack does his best in the middle, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that I've seen Jack play on edges, when he was younger, and he runs a great line. He's very mobile for a big bloke. I don't mind him on the edge, but if Madison's injured, they're just all of a sudden light on.
Katoga's injured too. I think he's the one that was meant to start on the left edge. I agree with you. I'd have Jack through the middle, but I think their hand was kind of forced. Once Matter was ruled out,
fair.
In more bad news, I just looked at the New South Wales Cup, see how they went. They had the bye this week, so you got nothing to go off to.
Oh, man. And I feel sorry for Volkman because, he's going down. He's already, has to fight to get into first grade. It's not like he's just a star out the bat and he's, in first grade since he was 18 years old. To go down to Melbourne with all that pressure on you, look, not to make excuses, but it's a tough ask when you barely played NRL.
I think it's one of those games that Parramatta sort of just wipe it.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And focus on the fact that, yes, maybe Storm took their foot off the pedal, but at least they had a crack when they won the second half. And I know that's, almost a moral victory, but they held on for the second half. 40 minutes of that game, they held them out mostly.
If they lost by that margin to essentially any other team in the NRL, I'd have been like, okay, this is pretty bad. Like, maybe give or take
Penrith.
The form Brisbane were in, maybe Penrith, but even Penrith don't tend to blow teams out early. But with Melbourne, I'm like, okay, I'll give them certainly not a pass mark, but willing to forgive for one game. If they come out and they get towed up by the Tigers next week, then you go, all right, we got some danger signs.
Yeah. What it has confirmed for me, though, is like they truly are in a full-on rebuild. in the off season, I was, looking at what I saw and the footage and, all these different things they're trying to introduce. And I kind of assumed it would just maybe they would just click straight away. But I think it's going to take, I think they're in a full-on rebuild. Because I even looked yesterday, I was like, even though Iongi was good at the back, he did his job, got through a bunch of work, they were desperate for Gutho out there.
Yeah.
But when you're in a rebuild, you have to sacrifice that stuff to rebuild with younger guys coming through. Even though Iongi was still at 24 runs, 178 metres, had a try as well, which is great. But yeah, so they're in the depths of a rebuild. Now, granted, Mitchell Moses can come in and maybe he might be able to pull them up to a 10th or something like that. I probably don't see them making the 8 this year though.
With Mitch missing the first 5 or 6 weeks, it's a big jump to give to every other side.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. I know his stat line isn't incredible. Jeez, Charlie Guymer's a tough little bastard, isn't he?
Yeah, I like him.
I really like him.
He'll be great for them.
Yeah.
Did a lot of clean-up work yesterday.
Just go, and also just, at the moment, when you're in the middle of a rebuild, you just need blokes that rip in. Fucking rip in, and it's what he does.
We look at that at those edges, and I'm the first to say I've never been like a massive Matt Doherty fan, but I'm like, I think if you put him out there and play him on the edge while they do look a bit short there, he will rip in, he'll have a crack. Maybe he's not he probably isn't your long-term starting edge back rower, but at least for the time being, he'll go out there and he'll do a job for you.
Yeah, and he's still 24, 25. 12 tackles, only 1 miss, 92% tackle efficiency on the edge. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Look, they are definitely in a rebuild. However, Guru, you make a great point in the sense of Mitchell Moses is so friggin' important to this side. You can't really judge them until you see Mitchell Moses playing for them.
I know it sounds stupid, but I genuinely think with Mitch Moses in this side, I reckon they can win 50% of their games against teams not named Melbourne and Penrith. I think he's that important to this side.
Yeah, he's literally everything. He is literally everything to this side. Outside of that,
Riley Smith's debut, played 53 minutes and had cramps at the back end. They put hands back on. I would assume it looked like Smith was going to play
the whole time.
60 minutes there.
Yeah. Well, Hands, I think, was struggling in his first stint,
to
be honest. It's going to be a long season. Dylan Brown in this weird situation where he's the most experienced. So he's supposed to lead him around the park, but he's still named at 5'8". I will say, while Moses is not here, he probably wants to get that deal sorted sooner rather than later because if the team's struggling, his value will go down if the team is struggling.
If he's still got that contract on the table, I think he needs to sign it. Not
Brown.
I'm taking the piss. He's a good player, Dill Brown, but it's not like this is the first game without Mitch. You've gone, is Dill really $1 million player? If that's on the board still, I think he needs to sign it sooner rather than later because Mitch is out for another 5 or 6 weeks.
Noise gets louder. The chat gets louder. I think that, again. They are in the. We just talked about how they're in a rebuild, so it's like we're not blaming him for the performance. However, he is their most experienced spine player, and if your main guy isn't there, you've just got to find a way to step up. And look, he did. I think he laid on a couple of tries at the end there, did he?
He was good at the back end.
He laid on 3 of them.
Yeah. We know he can do that.
Didn't do a heap for a couple of them, but again, and behind that pack, I always cut him a bit more slack than probably you blokes. I'm a bit less critical. I know you because
I'm not super critical.
But I know you blokes looking at him as like a 7 and can he get a team around the park and that sort of thing. And I'm sort of probably looking at him as a ball running 5'8", but there are some good signs there, and even he linked up really nice with Isaiah Iongi at times, and Iongi. Tough game to be a fullback in and playing behind a well-beaten pack, but he had some good signs as well. He threw an intercept ball there. He'll learn from that. It happens to many, but just like tackle busting and he's sharp, there's some good signs there for him.
Yeah, just with Dylan Brown, as a 6, I think he's can be one of the better 6s in the game. But the problem is that the longer this goes on, the more headlines it's going to create for everyone, including Dylan Brown. And so I just think that, look, he can do it whenever he wants. He's got till round 8, I'm pretty sure, round 10. But if I'm his management, I reckon you just get the deal done, whatever it is.
I won't be waiting until round 10 if he's playing without Mitch Moses till at least probably round 8.
Yeah. Whatever the deal is, I just think it's to get it done early is best for everyone, including Dill, including the Eels, including the Knights, management, everyone. I reckon just get it done because eventually, you know, if they're still struggling, and he, as we said, like he actually played really well towards the end, got some tries, linked up really well, but people aren't going to look at that. They're just going to look at the results and say, you're the main man in the spine. Why aren't you getting us wins? And the noise will just get louder and louder, and it'll be hard to deal with. It'll be hard to deal with. So, and I think like regardless of whether you think he's a 6 or a 7, we all want players to get as big a deal as they can get. Like make as much money as you can in rugby league. It's not a long man. Like that doesn't last very long. So do what you can, get as much money as you can, or at the very least, have the happiest career you can have, because it just doesn't last long. Doesn't last long. But yeah, tough night for the Eels. But they're in a rebuild. Let's see. Let's wait and see a few weeks till. Let's wait till Moses is back. Alrighty, time to face a bit of music. Brought to you by Sportsbet.
All right, Thursday night footy. Newcastle Knights, $1.64 hosts the Dolphins, $2.26. The line is 2.5 points. Knights have won the last 3 between these sides as well. Kempy, what are you thinking?
Knights head to head.
Yep.
Dolphins 1-12.
Knights.
3.25.
Yep.
Knights head to head.
Knights head to head.
I'm taking the Dolphins head to head in that one. Next game, Warriors, $2.90 host Manly, $1.42. Line 7.5 points. This one's over in New Zealand.
What's Manly paying head to head?
$1.42.
I'll just drop the little wins here. I'll go Manly head to head.
Warriors with the 7.5 start.
Okay.
I'll go Manly with a 7.5 start.
Yep.
Yeah, Manly.
I'll give it away, yeah.
Manly minus the line.
I'm Manly minus as well in that one. The next game is Penrith.
Actually, I'll do that too.
Oh,
Okay.
geez.
Hold on, so you're all on Manly -7?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
That all right, mate?
Actually,
that's good.
no, I'll stick. It's unfair to go.
Yeah.
I'll stick.
I'm going to have to accept your first answer, guys. Next game, Penrith, $1.13. Host the Roosters, $6.05 head-to-head. This is their new home ground, Combank, where they're going to be playing this year. The line is 16.5 points.
What's 13 plus paying?
$1.90. 16.5.
Fuck.
No,
No,
13 plus.
13 plus.
Yeah.
$1.54.
That's fucked. I'll go. And what are they paying head to head?
$1.13. That's sort of more in your wheelhouse, isn't it?
16 and a half. Okay. I'll go. Fuck.
Can someone lend Kempy my clock? Or?
I'll go Panthers 13 plus.
Yep.
Panthers 13 plus.
Yep.
Panthers 13 plus.
Panthers minus 16.5.
Panthers minus 16.5. I reckon they can do a number on them as well. St George, $1.48. Host the Rabbitohs, $2.67 down at Wynn Stadium. 6.5 is the line in that one.
Host the Rabbitohs, you say?
Yeah, they host the Rabbitohs.
And 267 for the Rabbitohs?
Yeah.
I'm taking that head to head.
Okay, nice.
Dragons head-to-head.
Dragons head to head.
South with the 6-point start.
Okay. Dragons head-to-head for me as well in that one. North Queensland, $2.98. Host the Sharks, $1.40. The line is 7.5 up in North Queensland.
What's 13 plus paying for Sharkies?
$2.45.
Fuck at home. What's the Sharkies paying? The Cowboys paying to win? Sorry, head to head.
$2.98.
No rush, mate.
I mean, it's way harder this year because you're not just picking.
You can't rush up,
Yeah,
can you?
You can't rush
There's a
up.
lot more to think about.
I'll just go. I'll go Sharkies head to head.
Yep, $1.40. Yep.
Sharks 1-12.
Okay, that's $2.80.
Yeah, I like it, bro. I'll go Sharks 1-12 with you.
Sharks head to head.
Sharks minus 7.5 for me. Raiders, not a bad price for the Raiders. $4.35 hosting the Broncos. $1.21 down
See,
at
that's
Canberra.
value. Like that's so much value.
Down at Canberra Stadium.
Take it then.
Yeah.
I seriously might. Like,
The line-
obviously, I'm tipping the Broncos, but $4. You know, I only lose $1.50 or whatever it is for the Broncos.
Yeah.
If I don't get that.
$1.25. Sorry, 12.5 is the line in that one as well.
Just
No Tarpanay is probably the one question mark.
13,
Yeah.
13 plus for Broncos.
13 plus gets you $1.81.
Fuck, it's not worth it. Jesus.
You're better off taking the minus 12.5 there. You get $1.90.
Yeah, I'll just go minus 12.5.
Yep.
I'll go Raiders plus 12.5.
Yeah.
Raiders plus 12.5.
I'm just going Broncos head to head.
I'm going $1.20.
Yeah, well, I'll get a point and you get none.
Okay, well, I'm taking the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders plus 12.5, so we both might get points, mate. I might get more than you. All right, this game here, I think, surely we're all aligned on this one. Parramatta, $2.27. Host the Tigers, $1.64 at the 10th Wonder of the World, Combank Stadium. The line is 2.5 points. Tigers 13 plus, before you ask, is $3.50.
What's Para 13 plus?
$5.30.
I'm just going for a big swing. Para 13 plus.
Here we go. He's had a crack.
Give me Para 1 to 12.
That'll get you $3.35.
Sweet.
Ooh, you twisted me there, Roo. I was just going to go Eels, but I'll go Para 1 to 12 as well.
Give me Para with the 2-point start.
Yep. I was going Tigers head to head. Get myself on the board there. And to bring us home, Canterbury, $1.36. Host the Titans. This is at Belmore, $3.19. The line in this one is 8.5 points.
Canterbury, how much for 13 plus?
$2.30.
I'll go the Dogs head to head.
Yep.
I'm going to go a little flyer. Titans 1 to 12.
$4.10.
Yep.
Ooh, that's fucking value.
I'll go Doggies 1 to 12.
$2.75.
I will go Doggies minus 8.5.
I'm going Doggies minus 8.5 as well. That's $1.97 right now. And that is Face to
I
Music.
need to get the bloody things in front of me so you can actually compare it all. Do you have it all?
Something
in
they
front
had a
of you?
website.
Huh?
Something they had a website.
No, I know. Do you have it in front of you as well?
I just had the head-to-head and line in
Yeah,
front
okay.
of me.
I might get that up next time. That will help a
Game
lot.
changer.
That is a game changer. Go on to websites. Alrighty.
The internet's going to be huge.
I don't know actually. I think it's a bit of a
You're a
fad.
skeptic?
Yeah,
I'll
skeptic
wait
of the
and see.
internet. Don't know how it'll work. Alrighty, that is us done and dusted as usual. We'll all go fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.